No, I always gotta go. Playing house, this ain't a home with my soul. On the road, I can't stay. No, I always gotta go. Playing house, this ain't a home with my soul. On the road,
I can't sit still for a minute. I'm so dead set on indifference. Keep it Charlie, stay down with them Dickens. Let's get around like it's the 80s, right? Round, let's keep spinning. Let's keep playing these games that we don't want to finish. And I'm sorry if that sounds a bit bitter, but I am to the core. You want the whole damn thing, then you ask him for more. You want that old jive swing, you take up all of the floor. I'm fine with standing at the edge of the door. You be the life of the party, I blend in with the core. You drink it all to Bacardi till the bottle's no more. Let's take it back for this started. You want the love, I don't got it. Got my soul on the road. You screaming stay, baby please don't go. Don't think it's in me to listen to foe. It's so different with distance we roam into zones where nothing get hurt anymore. I just wish I was home when I stepped through front door, but instead I'm alone and completely unsure. And even though you're screaming out with the best of intentions, I don't get it. Why do you always gotta ask me to stay?
why you always gotta go? Playing house, this ain't a home with your soul. On the road, say, why you always gotta go? Playing house, this ain't a home with your soul. On the road.
See, I've been lost in my thoughts, and my thoughts they too scared to usher off. Sorry, Mom, I just thought you were my world. Now you're not. And I'm just sitting, smoking, sloping in the days, cause my days ain't been the same since I drove your away. I remember the way you wrote letters in blue ink. You and me was in love. Think about what your crew think. I know your moms probably think I'm a bastard. Your pops probably want to beat my death and take a in my casket. But I got sick of fighting, bickering, fussing over nothing, cussing. Instead of watching the death of discussions that we once had, days that we once spent in the backseat of our cars reading poets at sunset. It's funny how love can fall out the foreground, get pushed into the back of your mind. We used to twist the spliff and laugh and relax. Are you crying? And I'm trying to find the reason, so I ask, does forever ever happen, or is it always fade to black?
I can't stay. No, I always gotta go. Playing house, this ain't a home with my soul. On the road, I can't stay. No, I always gotta go. Playing house, this ain't a home with my soul. On the road.
You say that all is good. You say that all is great. I say that y'all can't hang. And that's cause y'all seem fake. That's cause y'all seem. You say that all is good. You say that all is great. I say that y'all can't hang. And that's cause y'all seem fake. That's cause y'all seem. Hope for a minute you'd notice me, but you didn't. Try living out a dream, but got caught up in something different. Think I'm probably just a piston and inner workings of engines. Put my pen down for a second, end up watching it as it trembling. Cause I've been trembling, look around and I'm feeling frightened. Put my head down for a minute, pick it up and then watch as life pretend you're righteous and realize that my evil just be something that's a part of me. Partly I'm keeping see-through. So you can watch your bits and pieces when I eat you and see my inner demons when I scream and try and reboot. But peace to it. Walk away and throw my deuces up. This track's from my brother who died, who never knew me much. For that who trashed me, all I threw was love. For my moms who always put up with my stupid stuff, grew me up, placed a kiss on every single bruise and cut. For suburban stoners getting high and making Lucy runs. For everybody who threw me love, I'm here to throw it back. It's that strange cat from the cul-de-sac trying to flow around. So exact, to extract my mental, straight from my pencil onto page, over instrumentals. I'm kinda feeling like a sage. Get your incidentals and go and throw them all on me. I'm getting paid. I think it's time I go my way. This is the anthem, baby. Let's get the burning up the sage. Let's get the dancing, baby. Cause now we hanging out with girls. You say that all is good. You say that all is great. I say that y'all can't hang. And that's cause y'all seem fake. That's cause y'all seem. You say that all is good. You say that all is great. I say that y'all can't hang. And that's cause y'all seem fake. That's cause y'all guess it's another rap on printer paper that you'll never see. I ain't past the pastors. I'm passing sticks with the scent of weed till my past catch up, my mask collapse, and I'm left with me. My dad's asking the passion to breathe the death of me, but my dad's a bastard. I'm the captain of the 7 seas, but maybe that's ass backwards. I'm with the legend speech.
This is Unsolicited with Security Boss. I hope everyone is having a phenomenal day, and we're going to see can we get something going tonight. Today, I have my Thinking Man podcast as my co-host. How you doing, Thinking Man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You looking mighty cool over there today. I like that shirt.
I got to keep up. I got to keep up with Security Boss.
All right, you look good now. I'm telling you. I never said anything about that camera, but you awful crisp over there. I'm telling you.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm trying to keep up with you. I'm trying to keep up with you.
All right. So listen, we're going to have a good time tonight. We're going to have some conversations. We're just going to bounce some things off each other. You know, we talked about this a little bit. We're going to kind of continue the conversation on from the other day, but we're going to allow some individuals to come on in here. And those, when you're coming in, make sure you're giving me the thumbs up. And tonight we're going to be speaking on marriage. You know, what is marriage? What is a leader? What is a woman's role or wife in the marriage? What is the husband's role or the man's role in the marriage? We're going to talk about all that. And who knows where we may go with this. Now, you absolutely don't, you realize this could take us some other different places, right?
Yeah, this can go all over the place.
Listen, have you been
I'm a little nervous.
No, don't be nervous. No, just act like nobody's here but being you. So listen, have you been, do you get the comments? Have you looked at the last posting we put out of you and myself?
I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Is it the still image or the video?
It's the one with the traditional woman advises.
I did see that.
Did you read some of the comments that were there?
No, I did not. I try to stay away from the comments.
No. You know what? Comments are good. I mean, comments mean that somebody's watching, they're paying attention, they're looking. They may not agree with everything we say, but they're still engaging, and I appreciate it, even the negative ones. So I'm not, you know, it wasn't like that. I've been pretty blessed not to have anything so, you know, off the wall. But I was just wondering, because there's been some crazy things out there that's been said. But how's your day been going so far?
It's going good. A little busy, you know. But, you know, being busy is a good thing. How about yourself?
Yeah, well, you know what? I've been out all day running around. I forgot it was Christmas time. I forgot.
Everybody getting money from me.
Norm. You know, I was doing my norm and just ran into all types of things out there. So I understand that. But listen, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to tell a couple of people hello for joining the chat. And from that, this is how we're going to do this. We're going to talk for a little bit. And then we're going to drop the link as while we're speaking. And if anyone has any questions, of course, they can come up, join us. We'll speak to them and try to answer the questions as best as we can. And then, you know, however it takes us, wherever we go with this, is going to be interesting, I think.
Yep, it's definitely going to be interesting. That's for sure.
Well, you know what? I've been meaning to ask you, though, how did you get to Thinking Man? What is that about? That's a very good name. Where did you get that from?
I've always been told that, you know, I'm always thinking, I'm always reading books and trying to understand things a lot further, always trying to see different perspectives and points of views. And it's a broad name, so it covers a multitude of things. It doesn't pigeonhole what it is that we're trying to do.
It's definitely not small. You're right. It's definitely, it says worldwide. It definitely does. You know what? Wait let me see something here.
Okay. Take your time.
I'm trying to see what's in the chat right here so we can, Mr. Rucker, how are you, sir? Prenup first. You are exactly right. You know what? I hate to say this, but I was thinking about you today. And I said to myself, as long as you love her, I would definitely advise her to sign that prenup because you seem like a very good man, but you got to love her. But the other thing I wanted to tell you too is in marriage, you're going to have to give up something. There's some sacrifice. So don't think that just because you protecting your assets, that your heart will not be broken.
Hmm.
So that's the most important part. But anyway, we'll get her to sign the prenup. I hope you understand.
Okay.
What is marriage?
So you already know.
Marriage.
I stay Google. I'm the Google master.
You're the Google master. You know what? It's always important to go Google first, but then you got to bring it on home and what it means to you. So listen, I
Mhm.
want to hear you. Hey, Miss Brittany, how are you? Corey Hager, how are you? Good to see y'all. Thank y'all for joining us. Y'all see, I got Thinking Man tonight. We're gonna be doing some heavy talking. We're gonna find. We're gonna. You know what? Do you think we'll have some solutions and some answers by the end of the night, Thinking Man?
I hope so. I
You
hope
think
so.
so? Well, I hope at least that we can help each other, you know. So, coming from a woman of 26 years married and coming from a man who's definitely thinking about becoming married. So, I at least hope we can have some resolve there between, answer some kind of questions, make you feel better at least.
I hope so.
Put us
I
all on
hope
the right
so.
track. So, tell me, what is marriage in 2021? What did Google say marriage was?
So, according to Google, marriage, also called matrimony or wedlock, is a culturally and often legally recognized union between people called spouses. It establishes rights and obligations between them, as well as between them and their children, and between them and their in-laws.
All
So
right.
that's the,
Very
you
good.
know,
Sunbreeze, how are you? Thank you for being here tonight. So listen, with that Google definition of marriage, it seems like to me it's just taking us back to the Bible again and telling me that marriage is something that God created. What do you think? Would you say that?
no, I definitely agree with that 100%. My
So,
personal opinion is that it's a covenant between man, woman, and God.
oh, I'm glad you used that word, that covenant word. My husband and I talk about that often. So before I get started though, I'm going to tell you the truth. Marriage is definitely from the Bible. It is a godly principle, covenant or commitment that is made between a man and a woman. Now, for the last decade here, you know that people been desperately trying to change that, desperately trying to change that. But listen, I don't mind them getting together, being in a union with each other, but understand that when you use the word marriage, it's husband or man and woman, husband and wife. That was how it was designed. And
From my
so,
from my understanding, marriage is from the Bible. Literally, it's from the Bible. Correct?
right, that's the first place I've ever heard of it from. But you know
Okay.
how it goes. People try to
Yeah.
manufacture things and change things, and I think that's what happens. If you go back to if that's the word you're going to use, you should follow those principles that support that word. You know,
That would
It-
be my thought process.
yeah, keep it kind of simple, but you know how it goes. But so when we say that, I want to go one further with you and say it's also to me, it's a man and a woman coming together in one flesh, becoming one.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's deep, isn't it?
Very much so. Very much so. You kind of hit on that. The last time we spoke about coming together and the connection.
You know what? I can't help but to hit on that because that's the only thing that makes it real for me. Anything else is not. It's just it could be boyfriend and girlfriend. If I'm not trying to achieve what the word means to receive the blessings that come with that word, then what am I doing? I'm not. I'm not. I'm just dating. I'll just have a boyfriend. So
Yeah.
it's very deep for me. Very deep. Like I said, I don't know if I said this to you, but I've said this before. It really didn't even get real to me until I was up there saying my vows.
Hmm.
You know, better or worse, sick or poor. When I said those things, it got real to me. I start shaking my knees. You know how you always say your knees start shaking, you about to fall out. It really didn't get real to me until that time. You know, I was very excited about it. But then when I heard covenant, God, and all these instructions of what I was vowing to do, and you know how you don't wanna well, me, I never wanna disappoint God. It
Right.
became really real. It wasn't just something I was saying. And at that point, I took it seriously.
Yeah.
So that is what marriage is to me, becoming one
of one flesh with another person. And if you can't understand that, or if you can't believe that, or you don't, if marriage is not that to you, then marriage is not what you want. That wouldn't be what you want to do.
I had a question about that. So, when you say coming together as one, there's always been a debate as far as the Bible is concerned, whether it is to be taken literally or figuratively. So when you say coming, obviously you can't come together as one
Right.
in reality, like, physically, but, figuratively speaking or spiritually speaking, can you expound on that a little bit?
Absolutely. And it happens, listen, it comes with no resistance. If two people are resistant, you will never become spiritually one with anybody because you're totally thinking you're in control. But if you absolutely release and submit to what God has promised you by being married, then you will definitely become spiritually connected to that other individual. Some people, now I don't believe this totally, but some people even say you look alike. I do know you talk alike, and I do know you feel certain things at the same time. That part is very real. Look alike, but feelings, intuitions, conversations, you begin to be that spouse. That is so real. Now, when it happens, I would say it's probably the sooner you submit to it. But I think we just go in with so much control. Or what happened? What came to me today? It is a fear. It's a
Yeah.
it's a big fear to being out of control because you don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So it's right when you feel like you're losing per se. I'm gonna say losing as in a loss, but losing yourself. Men mostly want to have, they want to don't like that feeling because it's like what's happening. I'm losing. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Some may, I don't know if they're calling them names or whatever, but you're losing. You feel like you're losing yourself. You're losing yourself. So
Yeah.
you resist it. But I'm telling you, if you don't submit at that point to what the principle of God has said, then you don't need to be married. You have to let go because you'll always be acting in your flesh. It's
Right.
always a fleshly thing. It won't. You always got to have control over it. I got to make sure this happens this way, this happens that way, and you won't allow that union to actually take place. That's how
Yeah.
I.
It sounds like to me that there's a vulnerability there that has to transpire. And, for me, and this is my personal, vulnerability in men, you know, don't really go together that well.
No, that's what it is. That's that bottle up control. You think, I hear people all the time, and especially now in these YouTube streets, it's all about men being in control, right? It's all
Mhm.
about, okay, I'm control my finances. I'm gonna control whether she has babies and my kids and all of that. I'm telling you, in marriage, you will lose something because it's a sacrifice. You're gonna lose something. And I don't care how many documents you draw up if you're in love with a woman and you've allowed yourself to really love her, if she leaves, you gonna lose, and it has nothing to do with your money. You're
Yeah.
gonna be so upset, broken. It's a brokenness because half of you just walked out, or what have you, or half of you passed away is the way it should be. So there's no protection from a true marriage or love. There's no real worldly protection from that. There's nothing that can keep you from experiencing true love if you allow yourself to do it.
I was thinking about, this topic of love
Mm.
and the vulnerability aspect of it. My personal belief is that you cannot experience true love without being completely vulnerable. And the same place, and this is just my opinion, the same place that love exists is where the pain is as well. It's exactly where the vulnerability is. And if you've been hurt before, it creates a fear. You don't allow yourself to go there anymore.
Absolutely.
It's a limiting belief. Like, I don't want to feel that anymore. I think every man has had his heart. Well, not every, but most men have had their heart broken. And
Mm.
especially the first time, that I'm trying to think of the word for it. It's just being let down. If that makes any sense, you had a hope, and I don't know. It's like almost like you lose a piece of yourself when you get hurt like that. If that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Having a broken heart is real. It's very real. That's why we have instructions on preserving ourselves because we shouldn't be in that state but one anytime, because it is vulnerable and it does create heart a hardened heart.
Hmm.
So it allows us not to maybe love the one that was intended for us, or we have to go through more brokenness in order to get to the vulnerability in order to feel the love. So you are exactly right. That's why we shouldn't share ourselves with so many individuals prior to being married.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
we get it wrong. I mean, we get it wrong though. But my whole thing is this: if you want to be married, do it. But just have in your mind that you're gonna make it work. And that's all you have to do. I cannot see a woman that a man truly loves walking away, truly is in love with walking away. Because as a woman, that's all I ever want. That's all
Yeah.
I ever want for my husband. You know, that's all I ever want. I hate to say that 3 times, but it's all I ever want for him. I got a comment right here. We do. Red lipstick vibe says we put up a wall.
Yep.
The wall is up. We do. That's what happens. And
Yep.
you cannot go into a marriage with the intentions of becoming one with someone and with a wall. Now, here's the thing though, we never, some of us don't know that there is a wall because it's pushing you. It's a daily push to grow. Like, we talk about the growing pains and different things of that nature. It is a daily process of submitting, of sacrificing, of releasing your will. It's definitely for the woman, but we adjust. But can you imagine how that is for the man? A man that's being taught that that's not what he's supposed to be feeling, that's not what he's supposed to be doing.
Submission is normally brought up for women, but when as you keep saying it, I'm thinking about, submitting to God. You're submitting to God as well. And and it could just be me, but I am a control freak. So,
Ooh,
so,
okay.
so you know what I mean? Like
Yes,
as it
I
relates
do know.
to, controlling a business and getting into the numbers, and you start to think it's almost like an illusion. Like you really think that you're really in control. And if you've, gone through your entire life controlling every single decision that you make, being
Mhm.
methodical about it, and then when you get to a relationship where marriage is, that's, coming up, now you have to, it's almost like a muscle that atrophies. Now you have to figure out, okay, how do I submit? How do I you know what I mean? How do I submit? What does that look like? What does submission to God actually look like for a
Well,
man or a woman?
let me say what it looks like. Let me say hello to big bad bull. How are you? Thank you for being here tonight. But submission for a man, and it's definitely to God. Um
Right.
what it looks like to me is knowing it's a relationship with him and knowing that he has your back no matter what. Like, in him you can't fail. It also looks like everything that's going on is a spiritual thing. This is not by chance. You know, I got cut off at the red light because I needed to stop, not because the person was being ugly. You know what I mean?
Right.
You
Right.
know, it's you're paying attention to everything that's going on and you're conscious. You're acting in a conscious state instead of just I'm in control. You're consciously paying attention to everything that's going on around you and you're just taking it as it comes. It's a conscious state. You just, like I always say, this it's not by chance that you and I are talking. It's not by chance that we're talking about this.
Right.
But when you're in control, you think you're controlling everything. But what really are you controlling? Tell
Absolutely
the truth
nothing.
about it. But you have to remind yourself that every day that I'm really not controlling anything. What I have and what's been given to me was given to me. It wasn't really about me.
Yeah. Yep. And that's an ongoing battle, because when you're born, you're very selfish, and it's a behavior that you have to unlearn, and there's a long process to actually
Mm,
remove the selfishness.
I don't know that could be that because what happens is you do have to teach yourself. You have to rethink things. You have to start thinking that what you have now is not the best that you can have, or there is something larger for me than what I'm doing. Or if I do, you certain things you can do, processes you can go through where you can say, well, there's things that are promised to you that you can't see right now because you're in control. But once you release them, then you'll be able to see what your real purpose is for being here. And then it'll be clear to you. It'll become clear. Because right now you just operate whatever you do or whatever accomplishments you have, you feel like you did it. It was because of what you did. But it was still guided by something else.
My God will. Yeah.
Yeah. And that could become your daily prayer. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Whatever your will is for my life. But to see it happen, you just have to become more conscious of everything that's going on and just don't forsake anything. I know people just always just don't pay attention. You just go through life, I did this, I did it, I am strong, I did this, I did that, which in turn you are, but how'd you become that way?
Right.
Because in the beginning when I started thinking this way, I used to always say, I could have been that girl in the hood pregnant with 5 kids. Why not? What made me different? What made me different? You have to think of it like that in its simplest form. You have to just take yourself back, reflect on your life and what God has blessed you with and say, and then you will start seeing things that have manifested in your life that you never even thought about before.
That's
never
true.
even thought about. So how it looks like a daily consciousness of where you are and what you're doing daily. Sunbreeze had a comment. It says, I use communication to find out and figure out a way for my significant other to express themselves in the most comfortable way. Okay, communication, definitely. That's in relationship. You definitely have to have that with your spouse. But as of just for yourself, I would say you have to let go. Because what are you trying to be in control of, actually? What is it that you're trying to guarantee for your life?
I think you just want to make sure that you're able to protect and provide. That's the main thing, to make sure your family's okay, make sure you're able to provide, make sure you have a hedge over your family. I think that's the main focus. So in my opinion, that's what I focus on a regular basis every day, is making sure that I cover my family.
But you absolutely know if you love your wife the way God loves you, she's never going anywhere and y'all gonna do this together no matter where you at. There are families, a woman and man homeless living on the side of the street, but she'll never leave them.
Yeah.
Homeless. She'll go where you go. And you're not going to be in that situation, but for a second, but I'm just telling you, that's real love. When, homelessness and, somebody always has somewhere to go, but for her to say, no, I'm going to sleep on the sidewalk with you on this cardboard with you. He loved that woman and she knew it. And he was out there with her. That's true love. That's your main thing that you have been commanded to do for your wife, is to love her. And all those other things will come onto you. I promise you it will. And it may even come through her on occasion. But we get so caught up in this worldly things that we can't have trouble seeing. Because what happens if we have another economy crash? I mean, really, I'm a real estate agent. I've been selling houses since 2001. This is just to give you a story. I made 6 figures for 5 to 6 years straight, and then it went away. So then I started operating on about 30,000 for myself, because that's how it just dried up. My husband and I used to look at ourselves and say, because our income went down so dramatic, it was ridiculous, and we lived off of $30,000, and it was like, how in the world? What we had $100,000+ for like 6 years in a row, and now we're still doing the same things, and we only have 30,000. What did we do? It was like impossible. It was like, what is going on here? What just happened? This is a real thing. It was just ridiculous. We never missed a beat. I never blamed him. He never, I mean, we knew what was going on, but that's just what I'm saying. We put our, where we were putting all our eggs into the real estate business, investing and all that, and it was just gone. Now what? You got 30,000, you got to do the same thing, or you're going to crack, going to fall apart. What are you going to do? No, we're going to get tighter. We're going to figure this thing out. And that's what we did. And we sit back and look and be like, wow, how did we do that? How did it happen? Hello, Miss Over the Top. Miss Colette, how are you? Thank you for being here. So it's like that. It's just amazing things that you and your spouse can go through. I can give you so many stories. I'm gonna give you another quick one. And this is me just telling you, I want you to be conscious and very intentional and conscious in your daily. Pay attention. One day on a Sunday, just weird, really weird day on a Sunday. My mortgage company called and told us that they asked me, what do you want me to send this check? We were like, what, really nervous to answer these questions because we don't know where this is coming from. Like, what are you talking about? So what do you want us to send this check? It was like, you could just send it to the address because you overpaid your mortgage, your house off. We paid the house off. This is what they were telling us. We paid off our house and we overpaid it. And the little overage they wanted to send back. And we were like, what? Just listening. It's like, yeah, you overpaid your mortgage. You overpaid the how much you owed. So we're gonna send this check back to you. We got your check from the attorney on Friday, and I'm just working on Sunday, just making these calls. Is what she said. Okay, good, great. Now listen, I never paid my mortgage off. I never did that. My attorney never sent her a check. None of that ever happened. But you know what it did? So when that happened, it actually paid off the mortgage to my house. And they told us they cannot go back. The instrument was paid. The paper, the document, it was done. It was fulfilled. So when they realized that, and we was trying to, after we went and talked to the attorney, was like, because we was doing a lot of investing in homes and stuff. So, maybe possibly that money went the wrong place. So we did have to do a lot of investing, but investigating, excuse me. But when we found it wasn't true, we was like, and they was like, I'm sorry, ma'am, somebody paid off your house.
Wow. That's not, I'm sorry. I wouldn't say I'm sorry. Somebody
I
paid
know,
off.
but what do you do with that? And then when it comes time to correcting it, they said there's no way to correct it. I mean, I guess many people don't pay off a whole mortgage in a lifetime, to see it, but they can't correct that problem. They would have to go, there's just no correcting. You have to go back and get another loan and all that. It was paid off.
Right.
So they could not collect any. They said, we don't know. We were in the process of selling that particular house though. So it didn't matter, but they could not go back and collect any money from us. Any money. And that went on. That was about 6 months of nothing that they could not collect. They apologized every day. Yeah. Things like that. Just random. I mean, we didn't do anything. Just random things have been happening forever, within our marriage. And it always brought us closer. My husband, I would say, is probably no different than you or anyone else. He's definitely an alpha man, kicks down doors, entrepreneur, been that way from the beginning. So releasing his control probably was a little tough. He had selfish moments, but I never gave up. We're going to be in this marriage together. And he was always willing. And when he realized that he could trust me, it was a trust issue. I know this woman is not going to do this and this and this because I was my husband's second wife. When he realized that he could trust me, he let go. And then that's when everything began to happen. The marriage was being blessed. The money was easy. Money was very easy. And it was a good thing. I just want men to know that marriage is a good thing. But so often now on YouTube, all we hear about when you talk about marriage is divorce. I'm like, well, how are we going to be in a marriage and all we can talk about is the divorce? Why? How is that possible?
I think that's a real thing to be concerned if you, depending on how much money you make, to be concerned with, what divorce would actually leave you with. Be, I don't
Who
know.
who are these women that we're marrying? Do they have no value? Is that what it is? Are we really just devaluing women to the point that I don't see, I don't understand that because again, I got married when I was younger. My husband and I grew together. But does your spouse, the woman that you're going to ask to marry you, to have your kids, to be with you every day, does she not have any value? Where's the value in the woman that I guess everybody's millionaires or whatever because me and my husband make more money together
Right.
than he did without me. I mean, a lot more money. So listen, guys, listen. The link is in the chat if you want to come on up and we're going to talk about this, but we're going to continue this conversation because I really do want to know the value that you're putting on your spouse if you can't, if you feel like, like I said, though, if a marriage happens and a divorce happens, you're going to lose. That's a brokenness. It has nothing to do with your money. Money is easy. If a man has money, it's probably easy. He can probably reinvent himself and get it all again. I'm not telling you to get with a bad woman. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that. I'm just saying to you, you have to have your wife should have more value than, you know, what's going to happen if I divorce. But like I said, though, a good woman will probably sign a prenup and wouldn't care. If my husband was a millionaire when I married him, I wouldn't have cared. I'd have signed a prenup because I was going to be doing it for my own covenant reasoning. I would, that's who I was. So, and it was going to be forever for me. Snuggle 668 security boss, you are being on logical. You are being on logical right now. Have you paid attention to the laws and the terrain you are talking about? I absolutely have. But Snuggles, I happen to base all my principles in something that's much greater than the laws of the land. I'm sorry. So I can't hang my hat on that. If that's the way you think and you're afraid of being married, don't do it. Just date. Keep your money to yourself. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But don't bring the junk into a marriage and corrupt it by, not loving your wife. You know what I mean? That's to me, that's a lack of love.
I wonder. I wonder what role marriage counseling plays in dispelling myths, romanticized thought processes, and stuff like that. I've never been in marriage counseling. I would hope, and I'm just assuming, I would hope that that helps because I think people come into it, and this is just my assumption, people come into it with a thought process of what it is or what they think it is, and then they get into it and they realize that, oh wow, this is requiring a lot of sacrifice of me.
Oh yeah, a lot. It
And
does.
I don't, and then you get in the situation and you're like, I don't know if I'm willing to sacrifice. I don't know that I can do everything that this requires now that I know what it is, versus going to marriage counseling early on and maybe making that decision before you actually enter into a marriage.
You got to go to marriage counseling if that's what you need. Are you questioning your abilities to sacrifice? You need to go to marriage counseling because
But
it's
how many
all,
people know though? How many people know that they don't know?
whatever you got to do. If you're serious about it, you'll put in the work. For me, making the decision to do so says it didn't matter. I'm gonna have to go through the ebbs and flows of it to figure it out because I didn't go find out.
Yeah.
My husband and I had counseling after we got married, and it was some of the things that he said to us was so darn simple. It was ridiculous. It's almost like, you idiots, you know, it's almost like he was just calling us idiots, because the simplest thing, and I say this all the time, is putting your money in one pot. That is so simple.
Hmm.
Two people putting their money in one pot gives you more money. What that concept, I felt stupid. I was like, wow, this is my husband. But that is so simple. But it's like, couldn't get it. On our own, couldn't get it. Couldn't see it because we were still single people that were married. We were not becoming one yet. It was just
Yeah.
everything has to be moving towards becoming one. Now, I know a big problem in this is that we're always looking at the other person, which is a major problem. The only person that you can change is yourself.
Yeah.
The only person you can change is yourself. Stephen Day, how are you, sir? Welcome. Only person you can change is yourself. Jedi Mike, how are you? So that's a major problem. When you're going into a marriage, never think that you're gonna be calling out the other person's strikes or their hangups or wherever they're not grown up yet. You have to deal with yourself. And if you're dealing with yourself and you're changing, that other person is responding differently.
Hmm.
But you know how it goes. We're always talking about the other person. Miss Colette, what you think about all this? Being
Hi,
that you,
hi, security boss. How are you, gorgeous?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I actually, and hi, Thinking Man podcast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Colette?
Great. So I actually wanted to have my mom came over today. So I
Ah,
wanted her to chime in since you guys always hear my part. So I wanted her to chime in. She's older. She has been married before for 10 plus years. What? 12, 13 years actually, and has been divorced. So she knows both sides. So you could ask her her point of view. What's the
so should
question?
we call her mom?
Yes, yes, sweetie.
Hello,
Mom
mom.
is
How
good.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I got one good question for you. Seeing
Go
that
ahead.
you seeing that you are divorced, tell us the number one thing that you would say that you would have done different in order for that not to happen.
Hmm. For divorce not to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
I That's a tough one, security boss. You got her.
It's all about accountability. When things don't work, listen. It
Y-
takes two people
y-
to walk away.
yes.
To walk away, let's agree.
i- in my case, I was more of the not trying to pat anything on my shoulder, but I was more of the glue.
Okay.
So he was more of a broken person when I met him, right? He didn't have any family orientated values. Um he 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 didn't even know how to pay bills on time, making sure, so I was more of the glue. So when um that glue wasn't there anymore, when you give and give and give, and I even give him credits, he didn't have good credits. So in my situation, I wouldn't change my divorce for anything. It was to happen
So is that
because
it sounds like you actually saying I shouldn't have got married.
no, I shouldn't have got married because I had a beautiful son from it. So no, I wouldn't take that back. But when you give and give so much, and when you're trying to take somebody from a different level, and you have somebody in your life can see a tomorrow, can see a future in a 5 years, or like I said, even a tomorrow, it's hard to build future with that person. When somebody just believe that, okay, this is it, this is where I supposed to live, this is where I supposed to um be, like you want it more. You want it more, and you're trying to give more and let somebody see that yes, there is more. Yes, he was a workaholic and he works like crazy, but at the same time, where he think was home and where he think was comfortable for him to live, places like that wasn't in my future. I wanted more and I wanted him to see more. But then when that person is not seeing eye to eye with you and want the same thing as you, and you try so many years, it's hard to go down the hill with that person. You
Okay, so
know?
mom, we have a question. The question is, what was the beauty that you saw in him, if you don't mind us asking? What was the beauty that you saw in him?
He's a good worker. Okay, I would have to say the beauty I saw in him at the time, that he was a hardworking person, and I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that about him because he would work and work, and he would leave. Um, I have kids when I went into the marriage, and he didn't treat them any different. He didn't let me feel like, okay, I was a single mom with With what was kids. It, 3 or 4 kids or stuff like that. I value that, and I try to stay in the marriage because of that.
I had a
And I
question.
pushed this man as far as I know how I could push him.
You pushed him. So go ahead. Thinking Man has a question, and I have one more also. Go ahead.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. No complaints on my end. I was curious. So this gentleman was your first marriage, first and only marriage?
Yes.
If you don't mind, how old were you guys when you got married?
He was like I was a little older than him. I was like 2 or 3 years older than him, so I was about in my 35. Close 35. 35,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. No, because the reason I asked that is because I think, and this is just my opinion, one of the things, and I'm even having the same issue. I'm 35, which is very odd as a coincidence, but um, discussing the vision before marriage and aligning and setting goals and how you actually, like what you want to acquire out of life, I think is a good discussion to have ahead of time as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to after the fact. But sometimes, from my experience, you don't have this. I'm talking about me, the maturity or the wherewithal, the wisdom to have those discussions early on enough. You're just kind of going through the motions, having fun, going to eat at Papados, just enjoying life and not really casting a vision for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you start to have those conversations, you realize, oh man, this is we have two different goals. We want two different things out of life. And that's what I was hearing, with what you were saying. It sounds like you were saying that you wanted more out of life as it relates to maybe standard of living and lifestyle than he did. And that caused an issue.
Yeah, but not really not, say standard of living with a lifestyle, because in the situation where my issue was, he was a very hungry person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like that either. He yells. I didn't like that. So
I think it was more so of she saw the potential in him in how he was, like we said, him coming into my life as a kid, I saw how hardworking he is. So, and I'm not the wife. So I know that from her standpoint as being the wife, she just saw that you, from what you put out, you actually deserve more. And I think she was just trying to show that to him. You deserve more. And for him, on his part, because he couldn't see that he actually deserved it. It was more so of, no, I don't deserve to have this. I don't deserve to have that, because he was so used to not having not much. So it wasn't so much. I don't think she's trying to say so much of she wanted a high lifestyle. So I don't want to get that point. It was more so of you. And this is very common in marriages. A wife or the other partner, it could even be the husband, but mostly the wife could see the potential of that husband, then the husband can see it for himself. And that's why it's so important for us as wives to make sure we are breathing in positivity in our husbands, because we could believe in them before they even believe in themselves. So I could say that that's probably where my mom is coming from. Is that what you're trying to say? Like, you believed more so
definitely
in him than what he actually saw in himself.
Definitely.
But is that something that you can actually, because I heard you say breathe life into him. Is that something that you can actually, put into somebody if they don't have it? I'm just, and again, I'm just asking a question.
You probably, like you said, don't have it, because sometimes we both could be speaking, you saying stuff and I'm saying stuff, but then when it comes to action, it's a total different thing, because like they said, the mouth made to say anything, and we all can just spit out anything out of our mouth. But then when action comes, one way somebody's showing a different action and the next person showing a different action. So sometimes it's hard to align on the same page.
They will have to want it for themselves as well.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for sharing that. So we can learn a lot from what you're saying. And if you had to do it differently, what would you have done different going in?
Hmm. If
Maybe dated more because they got married. They got married really, really quick, like a month,
Oh, okay.
two.
Yeah.
So you know what, Mom?
Yeah.
That was not a good situation. It sounds like that you married a man that maybe wasn't ready to be married, or maybe didn't know what it was supposed to be like, or wasn't quite into his role of being the head, the leader.
I
And
I think it was more of I didn't ready to get married because I've always tell myself I really don't want to marry. So
ah,
yes, so I'm not the married type. I'm not um I've always said I don't want to marry. I just want to just don't want to marry. So
oh, Mom, oh, Mom. You know what, Mom? I'm gonna have to let you go because you gonna scare these men to death. Scare 'em to death. None of them gonna get married if they listen because they go.
Well, you know what, security boss. It's actually also a good thing to see the other side that
It
you
is.
sometimes that a partner could realize that some people are just not made to be married.
but
You
at the
know,
same time,
so
I didn't raise you guys like that. I raised you guys to make sure you guys
get married.
married first, and which they all do, married first before kids. Son and daughters, the same thing. But I raise you guys to make sure
Yes.
you raise your family with two
Yes.
parents,
Yes.
married first and kids.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you so much for being here and sharing your story. We need to hear that because now we got a whole nother objective. Am I right about that, thinking man?
Yeah, for sure. For
You
sure.
did
But I
Thank you.
definitely appreciate it. It's all wisdom. It's all wisdom.
It's all wisdom. And you were married for 10 years, you said?
No.
Been there 13 years, going on about that. Yeah, 13 years. Because sometimes it's not every time a marriage is supposed to be married. You know, sometimes it's not supposed to last. Sometimes it's you're married to the wrong person.
Okay, now
You know?
that I'm not gonna prescribe to. I'm gonna let you have that as your opinion. But guess
Sometimes
what? We have
to move on.
Okay.
marriage is forever. Listen, we have a question though before you go. B. Rodney says, but did she want kids? Did you want kids? Mom?
Yes. One kids, yes.
You did want kids, but you were not sure that you wanted to be married.
Forget the sure. I just didn't want to get married. So it's not a sure. I just
The
didn't want to
security
get
boss, she
married.
know
The
look, she
marriage just
telling you.
happened and it just happened. That's it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Listen, I appreciate you. Over the top, you are
Thank
welcome
you.
here, and Mom is too. So
Thank
listen,
you.
we're gonna bring some others up.
Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Listen, the Ingram Experience, salute to you. Thank you for being here. So, the thinking man, what did you think about that? You got a whole nother side. You had a woman that wanted to have kids but didn't want the husband. I think we've seen that before, though, haven't we?
Yeah, I think I don't know because it depends on your religious beliefs because it's putting the cart before the horse, kind of. And look, things happen, but I
Yeah,
guess
they do.
but if things happen, okay, cool. But the thought process of I want kids, but I don't want marriage. That's different. And that was, what we were talking. It's 2021. People have different thought processes. They don't, they don't have the same beliefs. I
Oh,
just
but wait a minute now. That was over the top's mother.
right.
Things have not changed. We still doing the same things that it's just on YouTube. It's just on Instagram. Women are the same, men are the same, the afflictions are the same. We go through the same things.
Can you
That
ask
was
I
that was a
want your
prime
opinion on
example of
this.
it. I'm
I,
sorry.
I want your opinion on this. So how is it, I guess well, hopefully you can in a woman's mind, you want children, but you don't want marriage. Is that something that can be separated?
I
You know
can't
what I
help
mean?
you. I cannot help you out on that because that doesn't make any sense to me. I had my child my one child before I was to marry another man. Let me say that. My child is not my husband's child. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
But when I realized we were not going to get married, I felt ridiculous, shamed, you name it. I knew that that's not where I was supposed to be. I was not supposed to be in that space. That was never supposed to happen. I did it the incorrect way, but my thoughts was I'm going to be married. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? I was,
Right.
but it didn't happen that way for reasons that were out of my control. You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I felt awful, terrible. So I don't know how a woman, and I'm gonna do a show on this because I have somebody in mind that is going through the same exact thing. I don't know how you want a child and have no husband. It seems to be so something that is not connecting in your mind to want that. That's not fair to the child. And I believe in father figures, but I believe in daddy more.
No, I agree with you 100%.
So
It just doesn't seem like there's much covering as well. I mean,
covering. What about money? What about peace of mind? What about I can't teach my son how to be a man? What about all of that?
yeah.
If he's a son, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
What what about his oh my goodness, what about how he's gonna grow up, show up in this world, this big
Right.
crazy world we live in? Listen, my heart goes out to people who even want to have kids now in 2021
Yeah.
because the world is so corrupt. But I don't understand why a woman, any woman, especially now, would want to have a child and not have a husband. But I hear him say it often. I hear him say it often. And my husband and I talk about these type things sometime. And what he said to me is that sometimes he thinks that women have gotten to a certain age and they realize they're not going to have a husband. So they want the child for the companionship or not to be alone. So
Hmm.
the kid is really just, you know, like a,
But
somewhat
I
like an
think that have you heard of the term son husband?
no, son, husband. I think I heard somebody say it recently on YouTube, but I haven't heard it in life. No.
Yeah, it's like it's your son or replacing your significant other in a way. So then the mother and child, if it's a boy, he kind of takes on the man of the house role really, really too soon, and it just kind of throws off the balance in the relationship between mother and child. If that makes any sense.
Oh, it definitely does. I've heard without that title, I've seen that or heard of that being done, and it became incestual. So
Wow,
that's been going on. That's not anything new.
wow,
It gets crazy.
that's
I'm sure
crazy.
you've heard that if you sit back and think about it for a little bit. You've probably heard that before, right? Mom got
I'm
a little too fresh.
That's a rare. I've never seen that except for on like the internet or something crazy like that. I've never
You
seen any of that kind of stuff in person. I've never seen that.
there's some times when things happen that are very inappropriate, and when you allow, it's not your mind is not thinking correctly automatically, and it allows you to do things that you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And like you said, if it's a son husband, why would I mean what are you doing? Why would you even call it that?
I don't know.
Just opening yourself up for some stuff that you
Craziness.
shouldn't be doing. Yeah. What the funk? How are you doing?
I was half asleep, but I'm wide awake now after that conversation.
Listen, did you say are we high? Are you high or are we high? Are we all high? Which one?
Um, but I think there's an amazing learning experience we can get from this on two angles. One, you're absolutely correct. This is not a new phenomenon. This has been
No.
kind of in the code, and I think if we actually think about it from a logical standpoint, I think most Black women legitimately have seen Black men as sperm donors, and it's not so much about him being the purpose or him in his soul. It's about his look. And a lot of Black women really end up having their first children with a man that has a certain look. And then later on in life, they kind of want to get a man that has a certain status. But at first, a lot of women really pick, and we've been having women making children off physicality and that same 20%, the ones that look a certain way. And that's probably why that man got picked. And that's probably why a lot of men get picked to be fathers.
Wow.
We have a fake idea of morality where we say that we have outer layer of like Christianity or whatever. Okay, fine, Christianity, but it's really not the case. A lot of us in the community are picking who we procreate with based on the wrong things. And now 50, 60 years later, this is what we have in the community because of that. That was
I
the
don't
one
disagree.
angle.
I agree with
Second
that.
angle
I agree
I
with
wanted to quickly say about was I think this is also why I think this is why Over the Top is so amazing. I think a lot of times when you grow up and see something that maybe you don't want, you end up putting real effort and time and thought on how to be the opposite, myself included. I grew up and saw complete chaos. So I've always lived my life very minimalistic and saving my money. And that's why I can be in the situation I'm in right now, because I saw how people use money so frivolously. And I saw this at an early age, growing up on a Black college campus, the toxic behaviors that we have with each other, that I was just like, at 13, I was like, look, Mom, put me on the reservation with Pawpaw, with all the Native Americans, and she's like, it's not good there. I was like, they have a code there, and I need to learn it. And I was like begging her, like, yo, like put me there because you got me in some stupid shit. And so that was the two things I just wanted to say. And I think that really kind of opens my eyes to why Over the Top is completely amazing, because she's seen something at an early age and she completely wanted to make sure she went against the grain.
You're probably right about that, because she is a very lovely woman. And I do think that she intends to be in marriage forever. And I think that was her intentions when she got married. It's hard to hear, but it's very real. We focus so much on the negative parts of being married that it's very distracting. For me, I said it before, when I went into my marriage, I was determined to make it work. And that's what I do daily. And it's not an option to fail at it. You know, it's just not an option. So I don't get caught up in the world's way of doing things. I do what I have to do.
But you know, you're a complete anomaly. Like, you say it with such logical thought and it makes sense and it makes the man's warm heart. But you have to realize the majority of our women in our community, it's almost a prerequisite in the relationship. I mean, let's keep it 100.
I hear you saying that. I don't know that though. I don't know. Listen, I always say I've been married too long. So that's true. I've been married a long time. So I don't know exactly what's going on out there now, but I do know if a man loves a woman and he truly loves her, that's all that is required. I just think that
for men, yes. For the men's side, woman, absolutely. But for the women's side, you all want so much more.
What? Okay,
not you, because we found the unicorn. We've heard about the unicorn all our life, and we found it. Her name is Unsolicited Security Boss. We found the one unicorn. Listen, but let's keep it 100. You talk to Black women. Come on.
I do, but listen, I talk to Black women. They all tell me they want what I have,
but they don't want to work.
I have a very good life. That's the point. I'm agreeing with that. They don't want to put in the work. I'm agreeing with you, but it starts with a good man. Well, let me go back a little bit further. It starts with that foundation. Yeah. It starts with that foundation. It definitely does. It starts with those principles.
With a good father.
Well, it all depends on what you consider a good father. You have some that are providers that are very quiet, that really haven't led anything, but they're there. Their presence is there. Then you have some who come in, like Thinking Man said, they come in, they're very strong, they're alpha males. I don't know if the woman is learning that protection, that providing is from that person either, because it's not being.
Because you're an alpha male with money doesn't mean you're a good father. A good father is someone
I'm agreeing with you.
About teaching a young girl that her behavior is either a positive or a negative, and building, in taking the bratty behavior out of our women. I think so many of our sisters have a bratty mentality. And I think a father is supposed to be in the home to show them that behavior is not tolerated, or it's not a behavior that should be enhanced. And because
do you think that a father should place accountability on the man? Because I'm hearing you say, and respectfully,
you up so I can hear that again. Say that again, sir.
Yeah, respectfully. I mean, do you feel like fathers should place accountability? Because I'm not hearing you talk about fathers placing accountability on their sons. I'm hearing
they're not in their sons' lives to put. Are we talking about a mass, or are you talking about individually? Because individually, absolutely, a father should do that.
Well, the discussion. the discussion was, what is a good father? That's what I was. If I'm along,
Yes.
and if I'm off, let me know. But what a good father is you're going to teach your son how to be accountable, and you're going to have conversations as it relates to how to be a man and how to lead, how he is to act, how he is to vet a woman, all of those different things.
Yes,
You,
and
you
he
know what I
must
mean?
have real time with his son to do that. It can't be, I see my kid once every 2 weeks. It has to be when you are actually in there in that real time, and to have real time moments. When a child does something, you have a real time moment at that moment to have a conversation about it. Not something down the line, not because you're at work all the time, not because you're providing money. You need to be around your children in those moments to teach those lessons.
I agree with that.
So
I
That's
let
a
me
good
agree.
say
father.
this: what the funk? When I was growing up, it was very common for our fathers to be nothing but providers.
Okay.
Mother would lead, mother would set the structure of the home. The father was there, but typically very quiet. It was all about principle to be married. It was what they were supposed to do. That's just what came next. That was just kind of the evolution of life. A woman would get married to a man, and they would be married no matter what. No matter what he did, no matter what she did, they would be married and they would stay married. Happily married every
Okay.
day? No, no, no. But marriage was what it is, and the principles were still godly principles. He was always a presence. Everything still funneled through him, but he didn't have much to say. It was still his presence. I always say, going into my marriage, my mom never sat down and taught me how to be a wife or even a woman, but I watched her. She endured, sacrificed a lot. He did also. He did also. My mother recently passed away on Halloween. And now I'm with my dad almost every day because he is a fish out of water right now. Very quiet, never asked, very minimalist, great with money, outstanding. Only thing he would tell my husband when my husband went to ask for my hand in marriage was, make sure you can pay for where you live and don't get, overcome with bills and things. That was the one thing that he told him to do. One thing.
Mhm.
Hold on one second. Peter, investor, security boss, unsolicited, dropping in to support you. Hello, sir. How are you? But I wanted to tell you this. So that was his role as my father. He was there. I saw him there. He worked very hard. He had work ethic that was crazy. He taught me a lot of things. He did. Just by watching him, though, just by watching him. My mother is gone now. Now he and I are going back to having a relationship. There was about 40 years in between where we didn't have a relationship. Because when you get to a certain point, your dad really has not much to say to you. You kind of lean towards your mother. For about 40 years, we didn't really have much of a relationship. So now we're getting back to having a relationship now because my mother is gone. And he's looking for me, which is the baby girl, to do all the work, to try to fill in those blanks. So, and he has a son and two other daughters. But he's looking for me, the baby girl. I was the one he had the most connection with growing up. I was a daddy's girl up until about 14 years old. And then I was like, per se, turned over to my mom. Does that make sense? I'm looking at it now. I go back and
Absolutely.
look at it now, but going through it, you're just going through it. So I was turned over to my mom. Then she did her thing, per se. And then I got married. And then now I'm going back to that. But my only point is, when you say my my father had nothing to do, his presence, I knew I wanted that in a husband. I knew that in order to have a family, I needed to have a husband. I knew that my husband was the leader and the provider. Even though my dad was quiet, my husband's very quiet, but I know he's an alpha male. I know he'll kick down a door. I know he'll provide for me. I know those things about him. But I do know he also needs me. We kind of complete each other. So, and I know he loves me. And the fact that those things exist is what makes me continue to want to be in this marriage. And the other side is a negative. Why would I want to live being a 50-year-old woman alone with what? With nothing. I mean, just living here in this world, I don't get the other side. I have a good life. I don't have everything, but I have a good life. And it is including my spouse. So I don't know why a woman would choose that. I just think that they don't put in the work because they don't have the guidance or someone to say this is what needs to happen. And I think they're all just trying to operate in the physical, and it's just not working. I do think that men need to love, and I'm not going to even say unconditional because you don't need to put up with no trashy things, but you need to know what that looks like going in. Because if a man felt like a woman only wanted to marry him because he has a job and she needed money, that's up to him to walk away. To me, that's a red flag. I think somebody also said it in the chat. That's a red flag. Jetta, how are you?
I'm doing good, ma'am. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being here. But to me, that's
Absolutely.
a red flag. And that's what I'm here for now, is to tell young people, thinking man, 35 years old, he's thinking about doing this. He's wanting to get into being married. These are all red flags and things you need to look for going in if you want marriage for life. If you just want to get married for a time, then do whatever you want to do. But
Right.
I don't know why someone would do that. Because
But
it's such
these,
a major sacrifice. You're sacrificing so much of yourself to another person. Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to do this and say, okay, I'm gonna do it again later on, or if this might work 10 years, I'm gonna move on? That means you didn't go in with the right intention. It's because, like I said, if you leave a marriage, you're not leaving whole.
right.
You're not leaving whole. I don't care if you left with all your money that you came with, some additional money, all your businesses. If it was a real marriage, you do not leave whole. You are still broken. So
Mm.
Snuggle 668 says, is there any point in time? Is there any point in time should it be used if someone is delusional? If you don't mind me asking, or was Sharice Ali wrong?
Shahrazad Ali.
Try, yeah, Lee.
How's, was she wrong?
Basically, what is she referring to is corrective discipline. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
like in a
Well,
way
you
of
know what?
like,
My husband always telling me, when the last time I bent you over my knee. He always saying that. I just laugh at him. He does say that. So I don't know about the corrective discipline. I don't know the formal term of it, but he's always kidding me. He will tell me right now to this day that he smacks me on my behind. Whatever. Whatever. He will tell you right now that he spanked my behind. He will tell you that. So I guess corrective discipline, it works for some, but if it did happen, it happened many, many years ago. So I don't know about those type things. I just think if you got two willing participants and everybody's sincere about it, it will work. So,
but in a
Jedi,
refer.
what you
Oh, sorry,
go
ma'am.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
So,
I was getting ready to come to you and ask, what do
mhm.
you think?
We're going to, I guess, to answer what the point was saying about uh going to what the gentleman here was talking about, that there's anomaly in terms of talking about what these women want in terms of marriage. Uh, to me, and I don't understand, ma'am, you've been married for so many years, which is a blessing. But I can say someone currently my age now who's not married yet in a relationship, and I see in the dating market today, that every time I hear that excuse, to me, I think, you know, it's a bunch of crap to me because.
Malarkey.
Excuse me.
A bunch
Malarkey.
of malarkey.
Yeah, malarkey, baloney, whatever. But yeah, we found a word for acronym for it. But the reason why I say that is because the thing is that no discipline, is like self-discipline. I said is really the most thing that kind of gets right into the meat of it. And because life is about choices and trade-offs, meaning that what I know, to get the expense of me being married, I have to maybe not realign myself, my mindset, and maybe disassociate from a group of people or inner circle that is not being productive in terms of what outcomes that I want, either for a man or a woman. Right. I had a conversation with this woman just this morning, because now, I mean, I guess in this space now, all of us should become more popular. We're growing, obviously, which is good. But I got DMs from my social media, and someone just talking about my point of view. And I was on a phone call with her, and she was talking about how uh, the difference between traditionalism and modernism, whatever it might be, how traditionalism is almost a fairy tale. Like, do you expect that to be reality? And I'm like, absolutely, it is, because you control your reality. I do believe for a fact that, when I talked about life is about choices and trade-offs, it's like you forge the environment that you create. For example, knowing that how you carry yourself as an individual, and knowing, if you, whether you believe it or not, knowing things in the spirit, and having discernment to know, okay, this behavior, this energy around other people that's not being productive, this type of dialogue that might be around this inner circle, I might be associated with, and I mainly pertain on women on this because on this particular issue, because that in itself, when I think women kind of like around them are not really associated with girls actually being productive in them finding the husbands that they want. But yet they always have them around each other so they can complain, saying, "Oh, whenever an issue comes along with a potential mate or whatever it might be, they instantly resort to, oh, leave him, leave him, whatever, instead of actually identifying the problems in their character, or in a sense enduring in a relationship, because now cookies and cream." And you obviously can say that to you, Miss Security Boss, that with marriage is that the fairy tale is that it's all about happiness, but the reality is about duties and responsibility. And I can just see that with your demeanor, and also to your husband behind the scenes of who's conducting this right now. This is
Uh-huh.
the symbiotic relationship that I'm talking about in terms of men and women, is that even though in a position that you might be in the forefront, he still is covering you.
Yep.
He's still leading you. Even though we see you on camera, might not see him. I see that, in the spirit. Like I see
Yep.
that energy from you. So I mean, if you listen, sir, I commend you. But yeah, but that's what a point I'm going to talk about on that. But yeah.
He's definitely listening. Hold on one second. Let's see what Snuggles 666. You know what, Snuggles? I would love to meet you because you have
Oh,
so much to
oh,
say all
please,
the time.
please cam
Mm.
up.
But
Oh, I'm a
and
preacher's
then
kid. Let's do it. I'm a
there's
teacher.
never no commas, no exclamations. I'm an older person. Okay.
You need that
What do
structure.
you all think about the Old Testament and that we have the church back
Uh-oh,
in the
come on.
day really preach? What do y'all think about it? Jedi, did you just get to word?
Oh,
Did you
ma'am,
just
I
bring
got
that
this.
up?
Yes, I
You
got
got it.
dedication.
Okay, what's your question? What do we think about the church?
Yeah, like that's a multifaceted question and very
Yeah.
broad. Like, can you be more precise in your questioning?
Oh, here we
Please,
go.
please came
Do
up.
you
Snuggles
think
can't do that. Snuggles is always drinking mushroom tea and coming up with like crazy points and questions that some land and
okay.
some completely throw a conversation out of
Do you
whack.
think the
That's
old
why I'm
school
a firm
church
believer.
preaching is what is needed because the word was different and the word was stronger and had consequences back then? Well, let me say this, and y'all can join in and help answering this if you like. We cannot do the New Testament giving um, without giving respect to the Old Testament. They both are needed together. So I hope I answered that question. Would y'all want to answer it more? Because you can't take one without the other.
Well, okay, I can go with go. Please, I don't want to. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I mean, I don't know exactly what Snuggles is. Snuggles a female?
We don't know. I'm
Oh, no.
very,
Okay,
very.
I'm not sure what Snuggles is looking for, but I think
I've never
under
seen
God's
Snuggles on a
law.
cam. We don't even know if Snuggles is black. We don't know anything about Snuggles, and that's
Well,
You know,
sometimes I think
under
that
what I
I think
find,
what she's trying to say, in the Old Testament, there was a lot of fear of God. And in the New Testament, you have Jesus. But that doesn't negate all the things that he already told you in the Old Testament that are still existing. So, you know, this world itself, and this is written too, it's in the Bible also. This is not nothing new. It said it just all would happen.
Mhm.
So I don't know exactly how to answer that question. I hope, but the fear of God is not as prevalent, it appears, but it also says that too. So Snuggles, I hope I answered that question. And you got your eyes on us. We're watching you too. So come on up, cam up. We would love to meet you. Why not on Unsolicited? That would be the perfect place for you to debut. The
I
end.
was I was
The
hearing
end.
Anton speak on this. Not
Go ahead.
necessarily not the biblical approach, but just you have a generation, like our parents didn't talk to us about the mistakes that they made. They wanted us to, that's not for children's ears. They had that perspective, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So then you grow up with this unrealistic, and I think that's where the romanticized view of things comes from, is we have this image of like this, oh, they never argued, or they never had these issues, or this and that didn't go on, because they don't. I think a lot of people want to maintain face as well. So we end up, not being able to have those conversations that we can grow from, because everybody's too busy trying to put on and have a certain image. I,
A
I
facade.
honestly think that that's when my dad, growing up, the main thing that he always told me was just, don't have kids out of wedlock. That was it. Right. But
Yep.
there was no depth to the conversation as it relates to vetting women. There was no depth to the conversation as it relates to what a husband actually is, a man's role, and all those kinds of things. those are things that weren't discussed. The problems, the issues that he had with my mother, and the discussions or whatever it was where they couldn't get along. Those are things that, as a child, you keep those things from your child, but children could stand to benefit from that conflict. That, like we were talking about with Miss Colette, if I'm not mistaken, learning from those mistakes and having those conversations is necessary, because that's what actually makes the next generation better than the previous generation. If you don't talk with them about it, then they're due to repeat the same thing over and over again.
Well, you know what? When your father would not talk about certain things, some things would bring shame to the family that they were doing, like daddies having options. You know what options means? A bunch of illegitimate children.
Right.
They were not going to talk about
The
that.
bastards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was not something to be celebrated.
Options, the children are options of having the side ladies.
Both.
They go
Options
hand
having
in
the
hand.
side
Yeah.
ladies resulting, options having extramarital affairs, which may result in children.
Right.
And then guess what? They didn't talk about it because it was not something that was acceptable in marriage, but it was something that they did. But the reality of it is, it really didn't matter because nobody was going anywhere. Nobody left. It didn't matter. See, what we're doing now in today's time, it has to be almost perfect. We can't handle those type of interruptions in our marriage. That's why we have to be more intentional. It doesn't have to happen. My dad didn't have to have options. He chose to have options.
Yeah.
My mom chose not to leave. She chose not to leave because she had 4 kids, and she was not going to be 4 kids, a single mom without her husband. No matter what, she told herself, I'm the one at home. I'm the mother. I'm the wife. He got to come home, and this is where he's going to provide for. And she was right in that instant. But all that other stuff she had to endure.
And she endured that because the sisterhood at that time would have shamed her for leaving. Whereas now the sisterhood code would completely shame her for being in that situation.
And
well, not only that, she wasn't going to be no single mama.
Absolutely.
She wasn't going to see a single mama living in the hood. That wasn't going to happen. He wasn't going to do that. Her husband propped her up very nice. She got to do everything she wanted to do within that marriage. She was a wife. She learned from another woman, which is my grandmother, who was also a wife, and her father, who did not play that. You was going to stay married. His daughters was going to be married. They were not going to be single women out here doing whatever they're going to do. And that was just how it was going to be. Red Lipstick, I understand what you're saying. Go ahead and hit that link and come up.
I wanted to kind of go back before Snuggles maybe derailed it about you made a point about saying that you don't understand how a lot of women now want to just maybe have children without the marriage. And
yeah, I
don't. When they get to a certain age, and I think thinking, man, you said you're 35. I'm 39.
Right.
Sir, be careful. There's a lot of women truly have this in their heads, and some talk about it, but most don't. They are very much aware and fine with having a child without really thinking the big picture of having the marriage. And once they do get to a certain age, past, I'd say 31, 32, they really just want the child, do not want you. They do not care about your passion and your purpose. They care a bit about your finances, but they don't care about your overall trajectory of what you're going to become, big picture. They don't care about your soul of how you will actually be a father and how you'll be imparting your code onto your children. They do not care about your families.
Where are you seeing? Where are you running into these types of women?
Good. I was about to ask that. Thank you.
No, I know one that's very close to me that's done it. So I'm going to do a show about it.
So is this really prevalent? This is very prevalent because that's not been my experience.
I don't know about very prevalent, but I know of at least one case right
now. It exists.
Right.
I got some questions because I don't, I want to make sure that she has a healthy baby, but I'm not going to allow her to give this man a hard time because she did this the wrong way, because she was too old she knew exactly what she was doing. At 39, it's no oops. There's no oops at 39, Yeah. She knew 39? Exactly what she was doing. 39.
Wow.
So
first child at 39?
Well, she had a child that passed away. But at birth.
Okay, so this is her
kind of sort of first child. Yeah.
Thank
Kind
you,
of sort
man.
of.
Maybe I'll say I would thoroughly recommend you watch the series Insecure, and you can start actually just look up season 5 with the member. The character's name is Jay.
Jay, I know what
Because
you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Go.
Yeah,
okay,
man,
you know,
I don't watch TV
I
like
did
that.
not get this from this. Like I've seen this happen. Like I said, I've grown up around us, and I know how we speak when we're drinking. I don't judge black people off what they say when they're trying to portray something. I judge them by how they really talk and say when they're in their element, when they're really liquor brings out the truth. And I have seen countless women talking about wanting to have a baby and not really wanting to worry about the man, especially when they hit ball and they don't have any children. They just want to have the children because they do not care. They don't want to have the stigma of being the crazy woman without a child. Once they get to a certain age, they want the child more than anything, more than the man.
I'll do you one
And a
better.
lot of those women. Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I didn't want to cut you off. I was just saying, like, I'm going to the point that you were saying with that because I'll do you one better on a younger sense. Oh, there's a show called Grownish. It's one of the spin-off shows of Blackish, right? And with the one, the daughter,
Mhm.
Oh,
she
Brownish,
basically,
yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
Grownish, right? One of the characters, surprisingly, in season 3, she got pregnant, right? And the main thing was she reason why she wanted to keep the baby because she said, "I want to have something that loves me unconditionally." Simply, like, and because
Mhm.
with a child position doesn't have the choice, obviously you connect like genetically connected and bonded with the mother. So and with the woman, obviously she's craving that from something. So she thinks, okay, I can't get that. I don't even want the condition of marriage or that, but at least I know if I get this child, is he gonna love me unconditionally? So therefore, I'm getting something. It's a selfish. It really is a selfish decision, honestly, though. But when I was saw that on Grownish, I'm just like, and the way they put it out in the media like that is trying to almost normalize this in my age, right? So that's what I was concerning. And I kind of want to I didn't want to cut you off on there, sir, because when you mentioned about Insecure, I saw that too, but now also I've seen that on Grownish and other shows too, but it going to a younger audience because people Insecure, they're like in their late 20s and 30s, early 30s and stuff, but then Grownish, these folks are like what 22, 23, like my age.
Mhm.
So I'm like, to me, this is
Well, that's
alarming.
you know what, to actually say where I actually heard someone say that was younger, 22, 23.
Mm.
But I've witnessed it 39. So it's a real thing. And I'm going to do a show about it. She agreed to have a show with me because I really want to talk about that because that's a real
Mhm.
thing. Because if a woman wants to be married and could be a good wife, I got to figure out why would we choose to have the child first.
I think it's easier.
He's
Easy.
right.
Very much.
Wow. Hey,
Yeah.
Shane, listen, yeah, make sure y'all hit those thumbs. Give me the thumbs up as you come in. Shannon, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. When you say easier thinking, man, tell me I don't understand easier.
Well, I'm not justifying it, so I definitely want to say that first. But I think even but it's not just on the woman's side, on the man's side as well. If marriage is very difficult. Having a relationship and sacrificing yourself daily is a difficult process, right? So if you can just have a kid and not be in the marriage, then there is no sacrifice required, if that makes any sense. I'm probably oversimplifying it, but if I'm just like, hey, I want to have a family, but I don't want the requirements or responsibility of marriage, if that makes any sense.
It does, and you
Yes.
might be right if that is the way it is. But most of the time, they get pregnant, they have the babies, and then they want to go back and make the father or the father be daddy. So now they want that companionship. They want that child support. They want all those things when that grown man who was probably 50 didn't even want to have a child.
Hmm.
So now what?
That's a
There's
totally
nothing
different
easy
thing.
about that. There's nothing easy about that's nothing but rejection. Rejection. I would much rather be married and to be rejected.
Yeah, I think marriage is important. Bottom line, it's important. I think that it's a foundation for a lot of things to go the right direction. And I think when we start coming up with our own ideas and start freestyling or doing things a la carte, like I'll take the kid, not the husband, and start doing that kind of thing, things get muddy, and kids, they pay for that. They pay the cost of that. They don't see, mother and father in the same household existing in a certain way. So then they go out into
with
the
the
world to
dynamic.
perpetuate that same thing over and over and over again.
Listen, Red Lipstick Vibes, go ahead and cam up. You said you had a question, but I also want to read this one. Miss Ashley says, I was actually asked by a man to have his baby prior to him being married. She said the men are now
That's a boy.
asking for this. She said he was a high value man. The high value trifling man was the exact word she used.
Yeah. That
But
was one point I wanted to go to you for a minute, security boss, because I think a lot of times men, we think that by us providing and doing things like that means we're being a good father. And that's not exactly the case. Again, there's a lot of men who put in a lot of work hours and provide, and then all of a sudden, as the kids become adults, they're like, wait a minute, where's the connection? I did all this work and spent all this time providing, and the children don't connect with me. And that's because you as a man didn't actually spend actual time in really imparting your code face to face. You can't just put it on the woman to impart your code onto your children. You must spend legit time, and you can't just put it on the woman and say, well, I'm providing and I'm doing this, and then it's going to transfer over. That's why a lot of times in our community that children have such a disconnect with the fathers that even are in the community. Because that's not even the majority. So you would think that, okay, well, the men that are working and doing the right things, they would have a greater connection with their kids. You find out that their kid, well, my daddy wasn't really there, and they don't have that connection with them either. You have to figure out how to provide, but at the same time, actually be with your children. Like I would say at least 50% of like 50-50 custody if you're not married. And if you are married, you still need to be making sure that you're around your kids and getting all those snap moments when they're acting up and actually having real moments. You can't be quiet and just think that, well, I'm providing and I'm being a good man, and my wife will impart that onto her, on my children. You must get out of your square.
I think we kind of get it confused, as far as what provision actually is. Provision is not just financial. Provision is emotional, and provision is, from what you're talking about, you're also providing time. So provision is more than just financial. So the definition of it is just simply the action of providing or supplying something for use. So it's not just financial. And I don't disagree with you. It's what you're saying. It's that and other things as well in provision.
But just note that we in recent years have been, our men in recent years have been trying to fulfill that. Like I said, when I was a child, it was strictly providing
Financially.
Yes. And my father, you could not tell my dad he wouldn't know his fatherly game. You could not have told him that because his kids didn't want for nothing. You couldn't have told him. But what about the provision? Oh, the provision came to she was about 14, and then I'm going to do my thing. We in his mind, I know he didn't say it, but we wouldn't grown, but I was the baby. Now I'm 14. I really don't need, she don't need me no more.
That's when he needs you the most.
No. At that time, I need to be turned over to mother. It was time for me now to
learn how to be a woman.
That's in his mind.
Right.
But it was the worst thing he did. If I could go back and say the worst thing that you ever done for me was to get out, because I was a daddy's girl. Not everybody can say that. I did everything he did. Brakes, cars, my love for cars and all that stuff now came straight from him. The want to drive the cars fast, the engine noise, all that came from him. Sports, playing softball and all that came from him. And then basically he gave me over.
Wait, was you really playing softball? Was you playing baseball? You was playing baseball.
I was playing softball. Pitcher. I played the whole
baseball though.
No, I played softball.
Okay.
Softball. But that was all. I played all T-ball, softball. I was the sports. I did it. I ran track. I was the daddy's girl. I'm telling you, it was. I bled brakes. I rode mini bikes. What you call those things? Go cars and everything. And at 13,
it would have been smart at that age, instead of him turning you over to your mother, that he saw that you had that interest in him, and he turned that into and with alchemy. Okay, she's invested in me more than maybe what she's invested with the mother. Let's have okay, mother, what are the codes that you want me to teach to the daughter? Because she's clearly more focused on me, and so I will take your code and impart it onto her. If it was the other way around, then I give you my code and you part on. But since he admires you, he should have kind of stepped up to the plate and having you with him all the time, kind of past 13. 13 is when you really, 13 to 17, I say, are like some of the most important years to have with your parents. And from 20 to 23 are so instrumental for your children. So that's why I'm very big about like your parents not like you kick them out the house, but you make sure once they're gone, you get back in their lives to kind of make sure they don't make those mistakes from 20 to 23 that a lot of people do make.
That wasn't the thing back then. I mean, that nobody knows everything and nobody always gets it right. Miss T, Red Lipstick Vibes. How are you?
Ty, hi.
Miss Ty, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. People get
How are
mixed up all
you?
the time. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good. I was just okay. So I have a lot.
You got a lot. Did you write it down?
Because the comments when people were asking the question, I'm like, oh my God, I know the answer.
You know what? All these comments, I can't keep up, but I want to hear what you have to say. So what you going to comment on?
So, okay. I have a similar story to you. I am a daddy's girl, still is one.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 46.
See? Go ahead. Tell your story.
So my parents been together since they were 13 years old. They've been married for 54 years. And my mom just passed away in January. So now, thank you. So now I'm taking care of Dad.
You are very similar. Wow.
Yes, that's right. So we kind of similar in certain ways.
We are. That's a lot.
But I have to say, growing up, my dad did have a part in my growing up. My dad was military, and I'm a preacher's kid. So kind of, I had all those things mixed up in there. I guess it has something to do with Southern roots as well, because we're from the South. Mom taught me how to be a wife and how to take care of home since I was able to stand at the stove and cook. And Dad was more or less, he was more, like you said, he was the provider, providing everything. He was the priest of the home, that kind of thing. But I literally saw the marriage vows played out in front of me, verbatim. So I seen everything and through them. And my dad was my first love. That's what I put in the chat. Sometimes the women have issues because they didn't have their dads. They don't know what a good man looks like. They don't know what to look for. That's why I put in the chat, any man that I date or whatever, I look for qualities and characteristics of my father. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Police going by. Hold on.
It's all good. No, I think that's a solid point, though. That's a very valid point.
I look for my dad in every guy that I meet. And if you don't have what my dad has, peace, be out. Because my dad took care of my mom. He took care of the house. I seen from sickness to health and death do us part. And I want the same thing. So you need to have the same things like my dad. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of young ladies are having an issue is because they don't have the right example of what a good husband is.
I had a quick question about that, right? Mm-hmm. So your father is how old now?
He's 68.
68. So I'm not saying I disagree with what you're saying. The only kind of caveat to that I'm thinking is how you're 46. So your dad had you in his mid to late 20s. Is that correct?
Yes.
So when you were of age to know the quality of man that your dad is, I don't know that. And I'm curious, do you think that he was always this way? Do you think that he was the caliber of man that he is? Because we're always growing, that you experienced as you got older, where you were conscious of it.
I think because of his background, from my grandfather and my grandmother, they are the same. My father is the spitting image of my dad in every way, or vice versa. So right. I can look back at my grandmother and grandfather, my mother and father are the same.
Well, the reason I asked the question, and like I said, it's just another perspective. your experience with your grandfather and your father, they could have experienced a certain level of growth. So when you go out into the world and you meet another young man who is not as polished and he's on his way, he's maturing and understanding and trying to grow as well. So when you say, if you're not like my dad, then you're looking for, and this is just a question, are you looking for somebody in their 20s to be what your dad is in his older, in
No.
his, you know what I mean? You
Yeah, I
understand what I'm
understand what
asking?
you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I
Hmm.
would go in a room and get him out of there so he can talk to you. um, um, during those times, even for myself, you grow as you get older, and I'm
Hmm.
quite sure, you know, when I was a baby and all that kind of stuff, he wasn't as polished as he is, when I was older enough to see that, and
Right.
I
So
think.
that's what my question is that when you look for your dad in someone your age,
Mhm. Well, I'm
that
46 now, so
well,
if
obviously,
you don't have it by 30 now, something's not right.
right. And like I said, I'm just offering a different perspective
Yeah.
because I
Yeah,
I
because
find that
look,
go ahead.
young guys and young girls are not going to have it together at 20. And just like, a lot of the manosphere guys will say, men don't mature or have their stuff together till like late 30 and 40s. And I agree. And
That's
and, and
very
that
true.
goes with the women as well.
Right.
You don't have it together as soon as you walk out the door. It's a growing process.
But
But
do you
at the
really
same
want some?
time, it goes with the foundation, though.
Do you really want somebody to have it all together?
No. Well, when I say I look for characteristics and things in my father, I mean his work ethics, how he treated and loved my mother. You understand what I'm saying? So he was all of the P's, protect, provide, priest, all that. So if you don't have that ability to do that for me and our family, then we don't have nothing to talk about. Because when what I bring to the table is the same thing my mother had. So I need you to be what I need you to be to complement what I bring to the table, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
from
May I ask one
no,
Listen,
question?
Snuggles, wait 1 second. Snuggles says she is 46. What age group is she planning to look for to marry if she doesn't mind me asking?
46 and up.
so you
Snuggles.
want someone your age and
Yes.
older.
Hmm.
Like I said, I don't disagree. I just try to look at
Oh no, I
different
get what you're
perspectives.
saying because a lot of times, people say, "Oh, but I'm young and I do young and dumb things."
No, but I was going to
But
ask you
again, it
another.
goes back to your foundation. I always go back to the foundation of the young man and the young woman.
Right. So my only thing is that
Okay.
sometimes,
All
from
right.
my experience, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
What the funk? Did you want to go ahead, bro? I apologize.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm very quick. I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask
Go ahead.
one
No, go
question.
ahead. Go ahead.
Uh, the way that you think now, did you look for those characteristics in your child's father?
Yes.
Okay. And did your father have a chance to vet that man?
Yes.
And your father co-signed for him?
Hmm. We were supposed to get married.
Okay. All right. Then I think you're on point, but you also have to realize that you wanting to marry somebody in your own age bracket is going to be very difficult because again, men are coming into their own financially around that time. And a lot
Hmm.
of men also realize if they don't have children at that time already, that that's the time to really start having children.
Hmm.
So, what do you think somebody, and this is not for you, because there's a lot
Hmm.
of women in your situation, what do you all want to, like, you want to have a man that's like your, but that man who's like your father is going to be getting women and starting another family probably.
Hmm.
So if your goal is to find somebody to live with for the rest of your life, what kind of man are you really looking for to just live your last days with? Are you still looking for a man that's like your father? Because I think in that case, you're gonna be forever looking. I think you have
I
to find
don't.
a different type of man now.
Well,
The
the type.
Ingram, let me read this comment. The Ingram experience says, I'm 47. She's competing against women 30. women 30 with no kids. They're saying now you're
Well,
competing.
I'm not competing with anyone. Let's get that clear.
Bro, she said she's not competing with anyone.
But I do get the, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you trying to, I got a delay going, so
Okay. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm let me not look at the comments because
Don't look at them because
I'll start out
Don't look at them. No,
Creole
they mess you
Bible
up.
will start coming out. The New Orleans will start coming out. So let me not look at the comments. At this moment, I'm really not pressed. I wouldn't say like I'm like seeking for a husband. To truthfully, if that happens, wonderful. My purpose is right now is to teach the younger people that's under me, leading by example and learning from my mistakes. When it comes to my son, I was in the place of wedding ring, ready to get married. I had my son early, too early. And what happened is he developed autism. And his father couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
He said he doesn't make retarded children.
Wow.
And I never heard from him again. And my son is now 18. So for 18 years, I never heard from him again. So my son wasn't a mistake or, having a kid without being married because we were on our way down to the courthouse. And then I went into labor. So that's a whole nother story.
But wait a minute, Ty.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we got to be accountable.
Mm-hmm. Good.
That was not what God intended for you to do. You
Yes,
were already pregnant. You wanted you should have me and you both. I'm not saying you're by yourself because mine was something like that too. I didn't end up marrying him, but my child doesn't have autism. But mine was more of a military situation. But either way,
right? Yeah, I get where you're going.
I was not supposed to be pregnant before I said I do. But I must say this: I praise God every day that I didn't say I do.
Exactly. That's what I was about to get to.
But you got to be accountable. You got to be.
No. I'm not trying to smooth it over and think that I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, but it's not okay that we had kids out of wedlock.
Oh no, never.
Even though we had the rings and was real close and dressed and all that. Anyway,
my point was saying that that's the reason why I even started my podcast, because I don't want the younger people under me to do the same thing. You get what I'm saying? Like
I definitely agree.
Yeah, I have two nieces and I am on them like jackrabbit. Like no babies, and so that's my purpose. And I believe like sometimes, now the younger women, I think now I hear the men talking about, the women are not this and they're not that. But again, I go back to the foundation. We have to look at where these women are coming from. They're coming from broken homes. They're coming from single mama homes. When the mamas is like maybe 40, grandma maybe 50. Who's teaching who? Nobody is teaching nobody to how to be feminine, how to be a wife, because mama's not one, grandma's not one. And then the men expect these women to come out to be wives, but nobody's teaching them that. So my purpose is, let me teach the girls what my mom taught me, even though I made my mistakes. Look at my mistake and see what I had to go through by myself. That's my purpose.
I think we all need patience with each other, though, because when I'm listening to you, I was thinking there's a certain maturity, or there's something about being in a relationship. It's a growth that you can't manufacture outside of a relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's going to be a maturation process with each other.
Exactly.
So at 46, you still may be, not in the most mature state for a relationship until
we are
you get
forever growing until the day we die.
Right. So
we are forever changing till the day we die. I think, and that's even with the whole marriage thing. When I said when somebody was talking about, the issues in the marriage, you have to realize that, and my dad told me this, even in a marriage, you change. And you got to go with the change. People will get divorced because the husband changed a little bit or the wife changed a little bit. Something, we go through the midlife crisis or whatever. Oh, I'm unhappy now, so I'm going to divorce you. But nobody is like, okay, this is a part of our lives that we both are changing. So that means we need to get to know each other all over again, says OG Dad. So,
So let me say this. Let me read this comment first. It says women have agency, just like men have agency. No excuses for men or women. Victim Olympics. Some people or some of the people in the chat seem to think that you're giving a bunch of excuses for your life.
Oh, no excuses, baby. I love my life. God's been good to me and my baby, honey. No excuses here. Don't let me start because we'll be on here all night. no excuses here at all. I'm just making a point that the men are always coming down on these young women. The only thing I'm trying to say is you have to look at the foundation of these women.
Well, let me say this, Ty. You have to be accountable for the decisions that you made for your own life, and that's pretty much all you can do. You yourself have not been married.
No.
So be married, then actually tell about those experiences that you actually had. Because my husband and I grow together. That's how it is in our marriage. My husband is not my daddy. Actually, I was not looking for a person that was my dad because my dad, I didn't experience total gratification per se or growing up with my dad. My dad was always there, but like I said, he checked out at about 14. I didn't want him to check out. I wanted him to be daddy throughout. We definitely now have a new relationship, but like you said, just like what you said about my mother passing away, but I think you need to create your own or be open-minded to something different because your dad, you said, is 68. Mine is what, 20 years older than yours. So things change. Like you just said, things change. And if you're basing it on what he's telling you and the things they went through, you might need to adjust a little bit more to what we're doing now because you are a woman that has a child. And I would think you would want to be married because you are a wife. You're saying you have the direction and the ability to be a wife. You say you're not looking, but have you made yourself available to be one?
Not recently. No, I haven't. I have my reasoning for not. That's
Okay.
what I said. I'm not really. Yeah.
And the other thing is, I don't want
my question to you is: so, are you saying that I am not in a place to talk to other young women?
Not on marriage. I don't agree.
I'm not speaking on marriage, but I'm speaking on just
only
in
on marriage.
general, learning from my mistakes, teaching them like, okay, don't go this way, don't do this because then you won't be able to get a husband. You won't be able to get that marriage that you want. So are you saying that because I'm not married, I'm not able to tell them that?
No, I don't know what that is, but I'm only talking about within a marriage. I'm only talking about within a marriage. That's all I'm speaking on. And what I mean by in a marriage is the forever changing, people getting a divorce and all that things you mentioned about inside of the marriage, in the confounds of marriage. I wouldn't want you to speak on that. But as far as being a single woman, if you can explain to them the mistakes that you made and that I made, I'm there too, and tell them what not to do on that side, I would agree with you. But within a marriage, I don't think I would speak on that using your mother and father's marriage as an example. Is what I was trying to say because that was the example you gave.
I respect your.
But as far as being a woman and you pointing out to them the mistakes that you made as a single woman, having a child before marriage, please do preach it. I want to preach it too. Your testimony is outstanding. Having a child with autism and then the man running away because of that. Somebody needs to hear that. You're not by yourself. I know some women that are in that situation too. So I'm definitely telling you that testimony is true, but don't always make the man the problem because we have women need to be more accountable for what we do also. Because just like myself, you probably didn't have to have the child. You probably didn't have to be pregnant at that point in time. And I know I did. So that's all
So
I'm saying.
I'm trying to understand what in what part did I say that the man was the problem? I don't think I
Well, you
said
were
that.
getting ready to say sometimes men, and I didn't even want you to discuss them. I want women to be level up. I want women to want to do the right things. So I don't really want to even discuss what men do wrong because they gotta account for themselves. So when you as a woman are telling another woman, young lady, just stick with them because that's what we know. We know what we do. What moves a man? Obviously, we don't know because we wouldn't have gotten ourselves in the situation that we got ourselves in. You and myself alike. So I'm just saying when you're trying to give an account for what you know who you are as a woman that is 46 years old. So definitely reach back and give that. And whatever mistake that you think you've made, then tell them about that because we can't correct the men. I can only tell someone what me and my husband have gone through in our marriage from a woman's point of view. And then I ask him his opinion and he tells me. But that's all I'm saying. Just don't try to go towards the men's side and say you
Well, the only
men.
reason why I mentioned the men is because they were having the conversation about the women that they're coming in contact with earlier in the show. I'm going down the line of stuff that I wrote down.
Oh, I
And
got
they were, yeah, I'm just going down the
now.
line. I had so much stuff to.
I apologize.
I was just telling them,
I
you know,
apologize, guys.
sometimes the women haven't been taught right. I wasn't blaming it on the guys. No, that's not what I was doing. I was just going down the line.
No, I didn't hear you blame. I just don't even like to talk about them
Yeah,
because
I
they
understand.
got to get it right for themselves. Because what
Yes,
I'm trying to say to you, if we as women,
Mhm,
me and you alike, because we have a lot of things in common, even being born in the South,
mhm.
me and you alike, if we were stronger as women, we wouldn't even fail for it.
Yeah, very
You
true.
hear that? If we could have been stronger as women, we wouldn't even fail for it. You would have known. You saw many red flags. I would have saw many red flags. We wouldn't even fail for that, whatever they put on us, whatever it was.
That's so true. Yes,
We wouldn't even
yes,
fail
ma'am.
for it. That's all I'm
Yes,
trying to
ma'am.
say. We wouldn't even fail for it. So I'm saying that
Yes.
that's the point I'm trying to make.
If I knew what I know now, then
Exactly. You know it now, though. You
right.
do know it now. So
And that's what I try to, you know, convey when I'm talking to, you know, on my podcast. That's what, you know, the things we try to talk about is like, if I knew then, that wouldn't happen, you know.
Exactly. So now you know, and
I
I wish I had somebody to tell me something. I wish. So I'm saying we are here, you and I both, and we have so much in common. And it's so true. Everything you said is so many things that are like, I'm older than you, just a little bit, but we have so much in common. So I would love for you and I to be those two people, at least we know, that can talk to someone and let them know the latest to come. And
it's one more thing that Snuggles had put in the chat when Jedi was up.
Snuggles be putting a lot of things.
I know. I tell you, I was writing everything down. That's why I think my words were getting jumbled. Because
I'm gonna call her she. She just said, "Oh, thank you, Snuggles." But go ahead. What did Snuggles say? Let's hear it.
When he or she was talking about the church, about I'm trying to find it. Oh my God.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Do we think the old Testament,
church? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I recall.
I'm now being a PK like Jedi. I'm not going to go, you know, what the Old Testament, New Testament, but I'm going to go with the church itself. The back in the day, there was accountability in the church when things happen. Now we don't see that accountability when things happen. You understand where I'm going?
I mean, I don't even see much church now, so I'm agreeing with you totally. So,
exactly.
Yes, I agree.
So it's like, so my question is, okay, so where are the elders in the church when our young people are just running amok? Well, everybody's absent. So with Snuggle, you know, I kind of was trying to get where Snuggles was going.
Well, Ty,
the old church is not in the community anymore.
But Ty, I'm gonna put that back on you and myself because the church is no more, and I don't find I'm not going to the church looking for it anymore. It's up to the elders and the people who know. So that would be you and myself.
Exactly.
And I have tried to talk to young ladies for a long time here and there, and I don't get good resolve, but I'm not giving up. But
Right.
that is something that we need to do because you have an example of how to be. I would love for you to have a husband. I would want you to avail yourself to have one. I don't think you should not have one. Your
Right.
son's older now. You're managing that situation. I just think that's another part of your life that you need to be able to talk about, that you need to be able to share with somebody because you have the answers as far as how to be a wife. So, but going to the church to get that kind of, the church, you find a lot of judgment.
Yes.
And nobody's ever done anything. And I can't relate to that because I've done a lot of things that were not right. And I need some people I need to be around or learn from people who have done things also. I need testimonies to make me grow.
Exactly.
And that's why I didn't turn my back on the church, but that's where I don't go. But there is accountability. But I found that accountability is where I live. I want to have accountability and I want to have integrity. And that's how I want to operate every day in all things I do. And I find a lot of freedom in that. I don't want to blame anybody else for what I do or what I have done. So that's what I concentrate on. And that's what the church taught me. But as far as me going back there now and
it's way different now. Oh,
standing in judgment of it. I'm not going back there to do that, but
it's way different now. Lord have mercy.
I just don't know. And you are a PK's kid, so
I know.
So,
even my dad, he says, it's not the same. It is not the same when he was pastor. It's not the same. It's not the same anymore.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother podcast.
I know, but you wrote the question down. But no.
I'm sorry.
It has been so nice talking to you. And
Thank
I hope
you so much.
Listen, let me just tell you something about Security Boss. I am pretty straightforward type person. Yes, and you have so much to offer because you're so much like myself. I heard so much of the same things. It's kind of weird, actually. But I'm not seeing it as a negative. But you got to self-reflect, find power in who you are, and let that be it. Because men have failed women day in and day out, but they're still there. And we're not looking for perfection because it's not there. So we have to concentrate on ourselves to find out what God is trying to tell us, to show us about that man, whoever that man is in our life. Then it can't be all about them, but we do have to avail ourselves. And I hear you saying that you have cut some things off. Sounds like a little miniature wall, stay away. And you can't do that. But you also too have to do this. If you are in the dating game, you have to definitely be realistic about what you are in competition, because your older men, your age and older, they want these younger women, whether they're good for them or not.
I think right now, like I have people, men that are, how can I say it, after me,
they're in pursuit. There you go.
But like you said, I have that wall, so I have to do that,
But that's self-reflection. That's on you. You got to feel like that you deserve whatever's good coming to you, and not go back to that big loss or that big heartbreak that you had 18 years ago, because that's huge.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
That's a huge thing. That's very huge. But I definitely appreciate you being here. And please continue to follow and come in and talk with us.
Yes. I've been watching you for a while. I just haven't said anything.
Thank you so much. But definitely, please do. And any comments or anything that you can add or anything you want to talk about, I'm open to it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Definitely. I appreciate you. And you've been the only woman up here today.
I know.
I'm always overwhelmed with men. I hope they don't try to.
Yeah. I'm getting used to camming up now.
Please do. Now, listen, please do. And I know what you're doing. So continue to do that and definitely visit. Talk, just whatever it is, we can talk about it. I appreciate you so much for that.
Thank you guys. Good night, gentlemen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Ingram Experience.
Hey, good night. How you doing?
You get ready.
Before we you have a second?
Go ahead, sir.
I would definitely have to say that you should definitely link up with her. Her channel, she's actually one of the best editors that I've seen in this space. When you see her panels, the way that she kind of puts in jokes and little things, like she has a very unique way of, she'll do the shows, and then after the fact, she goes afterwards and puts like different jokes in with memes and different like cutaways, I would definitely think that she has a formula that's worth learning from, and I would definitely
Wow.
suggest
You know
taking a
what?
look at her
I
show.
had no idea. I should have asked her about that. But see, listen, guys, I'm new to the YouTube. This thing is all new for me, so I don't know all these things. And I wish I would have allowed her to shout out her panel or her channel, so I could actually follow her. But I'm gonna look her up. Red Lipstick Vibes. But thank you for that. What the funk? Did you have
It's a
anything
red
else?
lipstick. It's red lipstick podcast.
Podcast. Oh, great. But listen, excuse me. Did you have anything that you wanted to add? Because I'm gonna bring another young lady up. These ladies are really saving my life tonight.
When ladies come, ladies rarely come up. So if you have a lady here, I'll drop out. I'll get in the chat. And,
all right. Thank you for being
man.
here.
You are a thinking man,
I'll see you soon.
you got a good one next to you. You guys are going to have a really good conversation. Mr. Ingram Experience is one of my favorite channels as well, and I hope that you all start connecting the dots.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Hopefully.
Wait, why I gotta leave? Oh, and then the sexy lady comes and I gotta leave. Okay, I'm gonna shoot my shot from the chat. Okay, I'm gonna be in the chat. Shooting my shot. All right.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Who you shooting your shot at? Did you leave? Miss Bentley.
It can't be me.
I was looking out for you. I was like, she married, but he didn't say. I don't know, but he is a single man, good looking single man too. So we gotta keep our eye on him.
I have some single girlfriends for him.
All right. Mr. Ingram Experience, how are you doing today?
I'm doing outstanding. I was trolling the chats, of course, but I think you have a great topic tonight, and you're passing along a lot of good information to the young ladies, and I'm happy to come on the panel because I like to show a face behind the voice because, like I always say, I'm not that echo chamber type guy. I'm always ready to defend my position. I put it out there, I'll defend it.
Yeah, so you really think that Red Lipstick Vibes Ty is competing with the 30-year-olds?
Yes, for a certain type of man, yes, she is. That's the reality of it, especially for guys that have been like me. I'm retired already. I just retired at 46 years old. So we have a lot more options in terms of women we get to select from. But the problem that we see with women like her, and I no disrespect to the sister, is that women get told a lot of lies because lies sell. You get the guys that are selling lies to women on the internet, so it puts them in a state of delusion. And my thing is, I look at things from a business perspective. If the customers aren't buying, then something's got to change with the product. And if the men are not stepping up to the plate and marrying women, or they're not doing what you want them to do, is either something wrong with the men or is there something wrong with the women? And the problem is we don't focus on outcome enough in our community. We focus too much on feelings. And every guy that comes on these stations, men know that women, if you keep them in their feelings, they'll keep buying your books, they'll keep buying your products, they'll keep listening to your podcasts, but they'll be single as hell. They'll die alone with their dog, but they won't get outcome. But the guys like me who don't care will tell a woman the truth. The reason why you're not getting the outcome this maybe you need to lose 100 pounds. Maybe you need to close your legs. Maybe you need to develop some virtues and some skills to be in a marriage, to be in a relationship. Guys like me are going to be unpopular because we tell the truth. And the truth hurts, but at least you'll be able to change and you'll get the outcome that you want.
Hold on.
Okay, well, you know what? In her defense, she says that right now or at this moment, she hasn't been really looking for anything, but I think she'll get it right.
Well,
I think she will.
I haven't seen her personally.
I haven't either, but just listening to her and her story and her values, I think she will. She just has to do a little bit of work as far as releasing and taking down that wall that she's put up over the last few years of a hurt that she's had.
Well, I understand it, but my thing is if I was telling the truth, let's be honest, out here in this world, you can meet a guy. Most of the time, women meet a guy, but sometimes the guy that likes them, they don't usually like the guy. But in a situation where she's a single mom with a kid with certain issues, a lot of guys don't want to take. First of all, a lot of men don't want to take care of other men's kids. That's the first thing you got to accept. That's the truth. I have to tell women that. So if you're a single mom with a kid, especially the kid with this an issue, many men will avoid that altogether. Some men will just go over there and have sex with the woman, not make any commitment, they exit out the back door, and then it will be a repeated cycle. And especially now with social media, so many of these guys, the thirst monster, lie to women, have sex with them, don't have any plans to be with them or marry them. And women get confused between renters and buyers, like guys that really trying to marry them, be in a long-term relationship with them, versus a guy that's just trying to score. And I think when it comes to channels like mine, I take away all that delusion. I'll tell you right off the back, yeah, that guy, he's not going to marry you. He's just going to smash you for about 6 months and throw you over his left shoulder to the next guy in line. And see, that's reality, but that doesn't sell. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's not sexy. That's not romantic. That doesn't sell. And the same thing with the church. You have all these women in there sitting on the pews. If you told them the truth, that offering plate's going to get really light on that Sunday. So that's why guys like Gino Jennings is so unpopular, because they tell the truth. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of pastors around that tell the truth, but the truth is very unpopular. The truth will never be popular, but it will get you outcome if you actually listen to it. And that's the problem. It's very difficult in these spaces. And I speak so freely. I'm a retired guy, so I have no obligations to my job. I don't have to worry about cancel culture. You cancel me, I'm still going to get checks on the first. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference to me. So I have no reason to lie. And that's the problem. With we have to, we give this delicate message to women and men. But the problem is, it's easy for us to hold men accountable. I have boys downstairs. I'm cracking the whip every day. You see, because it's easy to hold boys accountable. But the moment, see, what men don't do is, you know, that holding women accountable doesn't sell. It's not sexy. You won't make any money. If I wanted to make money as a YouTuber, I'd have 100,000 subscribers. I'd get in my car and start getting into telling women what they want to hear. Like single moms are for real men, all that other stuff, making those, all kinds of rubbish selling on the internet, like the Steve Harvey books or any of that stuff. That's what sells, but it doesn't get any outcome. As we can see by the statistics in our community, it doesn't lead to outcome. You're not winning. And that's the problem. I want women to win. If you want to win, I'll tell you how to win. You know what I mean? And that's the hard truth.
So what you're saying is, okay, so when you say that, is there not a way to tell the truth in love?
Sure there is. But sometimes the problem is we've been telling too much love and fantasy and not the truth. And that's
wait a minute. Love and fantasy are two different things. Why you put love and fantasy in the same sentence?
But sometimes love is the truth, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
love
I agree.
Is the truth.
I just think I think when telling the truth to some people, it requires love. I think that's what's a requirement in a relationship. I think that's what makes sense in a relationship. Sometimes truth, when you say truth hurts, sometimes it stings because we do live in a delusion. Sometimes women are very delusional about how they look, what their thoughts are, all of that. I agree with you, but I still think sometimes we need to say things in love so the person can actually hear you. Because when you say truth and it comes off too harsh, they just wrote you off as being a hater, or you don't know what he's talking about. None of all of that. So sometimes you do have to be. But that may not be your goal, your role. You might need to be the hard ass that comes with the truth, the way it is. But sometimes I think women need to have the truth in love, or in what you call it, relationship, meaning, listen, I've been there before. This is what happened, like that, because it makes more sense. When you just, Gino Jennings is the bomb. I love him.
Yeah, but
love him.
But the thing about it is, security boss is this. Remember, when I look at you, I always think about Monique when she addressed the young ladies about the bonnets.
Right.
She was like, my babies, I love you. I love you so much. This is your auntie talking. Just come out. You can't be in the airport with the sandals and the bonnets and all the other
pajama bottoms.
Pajama bottoms.
Yeah.
They went to bash to get that woman canceled.
Yeah.
You know what? We need to be fine. We need to go find Monique. I haven't seen her in a while. She might be in hiding somewhere.
Okay, so
And
tell me how do I relate to that? You think I smooth it over too much?
it's not that you smooth it over too much. I think you come to the table with old school virtues.
Well,
And
let me add to that. Let me tell you something else that I come to the table with, and that's the YouTube table. I'm a woman,
right.
and I feel like this is a man's world.
Actually, it's a man's world, but all men respect virtue. You
Yeah,
see what I'm
but
saying?
when
Like
I
if
tell you I get attacked, or I have before, and if I respond too quickly, or my truth is too sharp, they will be canceling me too.
well, that's true, but the thing about it is this: you're not going to have problems with the men. You're not, because the men can't touch you. You see, because then you're going to hit them with virtue. Then the argument is lost. I can't touch you, and I'm probably as radical as they get. And the reality is that virtue is the kryptonite of the manosphere. You can't touch. What are they going to say? Well, I'm a married woman. All the manosphere's arguments are defeated. You can't touch that, because I think that's the problem. So we can't touch you. We can say whatever
Right.
we want to say, but
Right.
that's what women don't realize, is that the virtue is the power, and that's through the Bible and through the Word of God. You can
I agree.
defeat any of these arguments that manosphere have, because we're only men, and at the end of the day, men respect virtue. It just is the way it is. We can't change that.
You're right.
Security
So
boss. That's what I was telling you on the last one. Remember, I was saying, look,
that's why
see
I
how
was
it
getting
comes
ready to
full
come right
circle.
to you. I was getting ready to come right to you for a couple of reasons, but you're right. You did say that. I just, I'm learning. I started off with I'm new at this,
Right.
but I see things and I hear things and I want to know, I want to get it right because I do want people to hear me. So it's a balance to this. It's a thin line. I think I said that when you told me that before. I think I told you it's a thin line. So I'm learning. I'm gonna get it. I just, the offend part is not the problem. It's who's listening is the problem, or
Right.
that's my concern, I should say.
Well, they're not
That's
listening, first of all. I mean, at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, what they're listening to is what they hear in popular culture. And popular culture tends to be more powerful, especially the way our homes are designed nowadays, because the first teacher is the house. And we have assassinated the nuclear family. I mean, if you even look at the platforms, you look at even Black Lives Matter, that was supposed to be an organization designed to deal with civil rights issues. You look in their platform, they deleted it now, but it says to redefine the nuclear family.
That's correct.
You're trying to redefine and restructure what the foundation of a community. And what happens with our community is that you have to start with a moral standard before anything can be achieved. And the fundamental problem is that nobody wants to live up to that moral standard. And then everything goes to, if you don't have that moral standard, you can't fix nothing. There'll be no foundation built, there'll be no community built with first having a moral code that people have to live by. But they don't want to talk about that. They want to
I
talk
agree
about
totally. The Ingram experience, hold on for a minute. The thinking man, I appreciate you so much tonight. I know I have had you longer than we anticipated.
It's
And
okay.
I know you gotta go.
We got to do this again. We got to do it. I'm
Definitely.
gonna clear my schedule.
Definitely. Anytime. You know what to do. Just,
Yep.
Same thing you did last time. I'm open to it. I love to talk.
Most
So
definitely.
yeah, and I
Ingram,
love the way
Bethany.
you
yeah,
speak.
sorry, but I didn't want to talk too much, guys.
No, just stay right there for a minute. I like what you're saying too, because that added another perspective to the conversation. We kind of went off a little bit, but thinking, man, we got to get back to it and continue to have these conversations with different questions about what we still talking about, because we don't have the answer yet.
Right.
But
We still got two. We still have two topics that we didn't get to yet, as far as
yeah,
being,
a
you know what I'm
husband
talking.
and a
Yeah,
wife.
yeah.
I
So
know.
we still have to get
know.
to that, because I think that'll be
Definitely.
interesting as well. But I really appreciate you guys for having me on. I hope you
Definitely.
guys have a good weekend. Be safe. Until next time.
See you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye. All right. Miss Bethany.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
let me read this poll. Earlier we did a poll, and I think the poll is, what is the most important thing in marriage? It was money, love, commitment, and honesty. Ingram, what you think was chosen the most? Money, love, commitment, and honesty.
Well, from the woman's perspective, most marriages end from I think financial reasons is the number one cause, just going by statistics. But I think from a man's perspective, I think commitment, loyalty, and love, because for us, we value those particular virtues more than anything else.
All right. Bethany, what you think? Which one?
I said honesty.
Oh, so guess what? 70%. This was men and women, and it was commitment. 70%. 70% of the people who took the poll said commitment was the most important thing. Most important. All right. So listen, Miss Bethany, what are you gonna add to this conversation? Because you are a married woman of 6 years, right?
Yes.
Listen, I can't. I gotta continue to throw you under the bus. You know that, right? or is that gonna just be between me and you?
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay. It's understanding though.
Okay. I'm just letting you know you're not by yourself. I've done the same thing, but I haven't been called out yet, though.
My husband has fun with that because he knows what I bring to the business, and he thinks it's hilarious. He was like, "Okay, I don't pay you. Whatever. Go, you shop."
I know that was too cute. That was funny. I must say. Listen, what the funk said. He got his popcorn. Where did it go? Wait a minute. Oh, he got his popcorn and ready to fall in love with Miss Bethany. Miss Bethany is married of 6 years. I'm glad I said that first. What the funk? But we're still looking for you. Because you good though. You good. You know how to handle money and everything. So you a plus. You have to have 5 points to be complete.
Look, tell him come to Houston. I got a couple single girlfriends. You know.
Who knows where he is? He might be around the corner. I don't know. But listen, you know what we've been talking about, marriage in 2021, and you are married. So I know what you're going to say, but let everybody else hear your story, because you have just confirmed the Ingram experience, his scenario about men older wanting younger women. So go ahead and tell us about that.
Okay. And I was getting my camera together, so I missed some of Mr. Ingram's conversation. So yes, my husband is 21 and some change years older than me. We met, I was younger. We didn't think anything of it. And we happened to be in the same city, but we met in New Orleans and we're both from there. So I was like, what are you going to do with a 24-year-old? He was like, yeah. So we dated, and he thought he was going to move back to LA. I was in my profession. I was in public accounting. Yeah, it was a lot of coincidence, you know. So anyway, my parents were not a fan of it at first. And because my husband says my parents are very naive. I did grow up in the church, knew better, didn't do better. And 2 years later, me and him, I got pregnant, and that just that broke me a little bit because I got pregnant, but God's grace, I would say, in that whole situation brought us to our 6 years of marriage. We have 2 handsome boys that we're raising to be men, and I cannot complain about my life. I do stay home. I stopped working after I had my first son, and I've been home ever since. So
how about that? Now tell us about this though. What are some struggles that you may have had? Because remember, we're talking to women, because it seems as though the men pretty much got an idea on how to get on their purpose. So, but I'm hearing there's not a lot of women out there. The women are a little bit, a little slow at it. We're not saying they're not getting it, but they're a little slow at it. So what would you say to some of your single girlfriends that are aligning themselves to be married, or they should be?
Ladies, you got to do the work. You have to do the work. And they're sacrificing that. I remember I was supposed to go to a happy hour dinner with my 2 best friends. And at the time, my husband was my boyfriend at the time, and I was currently pregnant. And he was like, hey, we got to talk. We got to work through some things. And I canceled. I literally showed up to the location. Oh, my husband, Brett called. I got to go. Oh, but he could wait. I said, no. This is the future father of my child. I can't, no. And I had to put them on a back burner. And I know on the outside looking in, people saw that at a sense of control, or me just kind of falling, to whatever his needs were. And it's kind of like, y'all don't see the importance of this. I'm not marrying friends. I'm marrying, this man.
Who was the father of the baby that you were carrying.
Exactly. So everybody else.
We got to talk to our ladies. We are making frequently that mistake, aren't we? We're trusting these men, aren't we? We're trusting them. I'm glad yours worked out. I'm very glad.
Yes. I think some people see mine as kind of like the fairy tale. And I know that's not the case for everybody. But like I said in the last show we did, I was called into, I went to counseling. I got Christian counseling. I got outside therapists. I had to do the work because I had to find out, in the past or whatever, I was kind of very free in my singleness and just kind of, yes, the hot girl summer. Yes, I can admit to that.
I understand. You see the comment, red lipstick vibes. So did your pregnancy come first? It did. It did. That's what we're talking about.
My pregnancy did come first.
For it. Hers really worked out though, which is fortunate. You're fortunate.
It did. And you know what? To be totally transparent, I know in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, did he marry me because I was pregnant? And my husband to this day will admit, like, no, we talked marriage. The pregnancy kind of fast forward some things, but it was still in the process. And I was like, okay, now I'm like, when were you going to ask me? And, like, don't worry about, the minimal facts. That doesn't matter.
I'm glad you did it. I'm glad it worked out.
I will say that as a Christian, I do believe there's still consequences for your actions. And so in the struggles in our marriage, you could say nothing serious, but just me having to put my pride to the side and having to sacrifice all the freedom I used to have to one person, that was a lot. And that was a cause for tension a little bit. Like, no, I can't drop what I want to do and go to happy hour. No, I can't go to so-and-so's baby shower or go out of town for a wedding. I have a child.
You had to submit. You had to submit.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
So listen, Snuggles says, what did you all do to get pregnant? If you don't mind me asking, how did that happen? What did we do?
What did we do? Biology works.
Yeah. Snuggles. I thought you and I were here. Now I'm not understanding where you are. Snuggles, you know what we do? What are the consequences of how you endured? So you know what? Like I said earlier, I praise God that my initial fiance did not work out. My initial engagement did not work. I thank God every day that it didn't work. I should say I used to. Now I don't even think about it, but I'm glad it didn't work. I'm happy that it didn't work. Very much so. That was that was not my husband. It was not. I made a mistake. I did. So what about you? Well, Miss Bethany, you can't say that because you're married to him and he's turning out to be a great guy and you have a good life. So I think I asked you this, but tell me, beyond submission, what other struggles do you have with being married? Because you got a grown man on your hands.
I do.
He's pretty.
And I love my grown man. Oh,
there you go. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Got a grown man.
Struggles?
It may not be.
You know what? Let me be totally transparent. My husband, it's so funny because we have so much in common. And I think you're just the perfect mentor. And our lives are just so very similar after hearing your story and everything. And so my husband does own his own business. And and at times, I guess for me, it was having kids. First of all, we did everything, big life changes, marriage, kids, and all that. Kids change a marriage, I would say. But I guess for us, we were a family unit for like the first couple of years in our marriage. Mm-hmm. We didn't try to go seek other people outside of our marriage. We didn't my husband was very intentional about that. He was like, look, the first couple of years, we need to learn how it is, because we didn't live together before we got married, how to live in each other's space. We have a new baby. What does that look like? And he had to put his foot down for some things, but that was kind of hard to, like, what do you mean I can't go see so-and-so? Oh, wait. It's just what it is. Now, did we still have relationships with our family and this and that? Of course.
Did you have to have that domestic, what is it called, domestic discipline or whatever? Did your husband have to spank you a couple times? Is that a yes or a no? I believe that's a yes. So Ingram, Ingram experience. You know about the domestic discipline that you have to have sometime as a young woman. I mean, you have to give a man. You don't know nothing about that, okay?
No. I'm just tuning in. Like I said, married women. I mean, that's the gold standard. They married. The thing about it like this. I did a video earlier about, are you worth the risk? And when a man is actually willing to, put a woman, elevate or have a woman at that level in his life, that says a lot about a woman. But in terms of what she said about what she'd say to her single friends, if they asked me as a man, what I'd tell them is this: if you have Steve Harvey or Derek James, one of those books, burn them, throw them in the fireplace. Or if you watch Housewives, if you watch reality TV, Love and Hip Hop, turn the TV off, cancel those channels. I would say that either watch women like Security Boss that live the example, have been married for 20, 30 years. If you need the help in understanding men, go to Suzanne Vanker, go to her channel, listen to her teach you how to be married. She's been married. She's a relationship counselor therapist. She's been married for 30 years. I mean, she's been married to a man for 30 years plus. She understands how men's brain work. Because if you want to get married, you've got to be what men want. Because those guys are telling you what you want to hear, what your feelings want to hear. But you actually got to learn how to exist in a marriage and in a relationship. And you can't learn that from reading rubbish or watching rubbish. You got to actually listen to women that are married, and you have to tune into relationship experts that are married that teach you things from a different perspective. I think Suzanne Vanker is one of the best. I would tell them to digest all of her material. I have her stuff on my YouTube channel for the women that actually want to be married.
It's funny you said that, because I remember during my maternity leave, I could nurse and watch my shows, and my husband's be like, "What is this crap?" Like, no, we're not putting this in the house. I used to like my little housewife shows, and it was nonsense. And for me, that was just my little outlet, just a sense of entertainment. Even watching certain talk shows like The Real or whatever. He's like, really? I'm like, I'm a woman. I'm at home. This is what's on right now, but he works from home. So he's there to kind of see some of the shows that are on. I'm like, well, most men kind of not at the house seeing this. So, but he was like, no, we're trying to elevate. We're doing better than this. No.
So I got two questions. The Ingram experience, will you ever get married again?
Hold on one second. I had to copy that link. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
will I ever do that again? And the answer is probably no, but it's for a different reason. The reason why is because my legacy is already established with my boys. I already raised them. I would probably have more companionship situation. And I think what I would want is my body of work to be passed along to my grandkids. So, that part I want to pass on to the next generation. So it's a legacy thing for me. That's why I wouldn't do it again.
And you are a retired police officer, correct?
Yeah, I'm retired. Yes, I am.
So I love the Boys in Blue. That's one reason I started my podcast, the first one. It really is because I work with you guys all the time. So.
Oh yeah, but that would probably, my answer would probably be, it would have to be one hell of a situation for me to actually do that. Because to be honest with you, it's kind of a little bit too easy nowadays for us men, to be honest with you.
I hear you say that all the time.
You don't have to do any work anymore. I mean, like everything, the values are so low that, you can just get, be riding down the street and it just hits you up, falls the back of a truck and hits you in the head with it. You don't have to work no more. So it's such a different world we live in now. You know what I mean? Like it really is. It's hard to get us guys off the sidelines because they've just killed all the morality out here. Really
I hear you. I hear you. So Bethany, Snuggle668 got a question for you. She said, how did putting his foot down affect you, if you don't mind her asking?
I remember, we're better now, 6 years in, but the first couple of years, we had to do this tango, and I respected him as the head of the house, but I guess I was like, did you just, okay. So you have to, it's funny because I can be a little emotional and sensitive. So, I'm crying because, my feelings got hurt, or maybe he's not hearing me, and at the end of the day, I got to suck it up. I'm not going anywhere.
When my husband say he putting his foot down, I laugh, I smile. I'm like, you putting your foot down, baby? And then it just ruins his whole everything because he'd be like being serious, and because right now it's just so funny between us. We don't. He's shooting fire. Anyway, my point. It's funny now. It's cute now. It's actually love talk now.
That is so funny.
Will you please
go ahead on, husband?
It's like a love talk now, but it used to when I was younger. It used to be like, what? Same for you. I just couldn't even stand him talking loud to me. I'm like, I'm not understanding why you need to raise your voice right now. So
well, it's funny because the fact that he's older than me, at first I had to kind of check that, like, hey, no, check the talk. I'm not your child, and not in a disrespectful way, because people like, right. Oh, she, no, it's kind of like, hold on, let's take a step back. I'm not your daughter, because he has a daughter, older, and yeah. So he's like, all right, I'll be conscious of that. So now we can argue, but everybody can have a cool off moment and then come back. You know what? Like this upset me. I was disappointed at this. Can we, let's move past this, kiss and make up, but still, this is the standard.
Okay, so Red Extended Bias has a question. She said, I have a question for Bethany. How do you change from daughters to wife? Was it hard or was it easy?
Change from daughter to wife?
Yeah, because you mentioned your parents earlier did not agree with you marrying your husband. So he's asking, how did you make that transition? Now going into a relationship with a man that is old enough to be your father again.
Okay, wait.
But now you're wife.
My daddy older than him.
But 24 is old enough. No.
Yeah, he's about 21 years older than me. Yeah, that is technically yes. Well, I lived on my own already. I had moved out of my parents' house. I had been, like 3 years. Like 3 years, I was living on my own. But I still knew the value of a man in the house. I grew up in a 2-parent home. So I saw my mom being a wife. I saw my dad being a husband and leader. And my dad had the final say in everything. Now, people get that confused with, well, do you have no voice in your house? I said, well, no. My husband still takes what I want into consideration. But at the end of the day, he does have the final say. It's funny because even with him and his business, yes, I handle the books and the accounting system, but he'll still let me know, hey, babe, I need to purchase a few cameras. It's going to cost this and this much. Okay. But he just lets me know. He's not asking permission to buy the cameras. It's like,
right.
I'm just
letting you know how it is with that business part, because I do the same thing. My husband and I work together. So I know exactly, and I pay all the bills, but it's his money, so it's in.
Look, wait, even the paperwork. My husband be like, where the password sheet? Where's this? Where this file? I'm like, hold on, let me run upstairs and get it for you. He got people on the phone. I'm like, hold on.
So what you're actually saying is that you are your husband's wife. You have now become one with him, and I am mine also, and we fit in where we're needed. So wherever they tell us to fit in or whatever they ask us to do, we do. So I get it.
It's not a struggle. Now it's funny because I think for me, my husband doesn't care about social media, and actually, like, I listen to your podcast and I listen to the Lapeef Network. And recently my husband's like, why are you so invested in this? Like, what is the big deal? He was like, I get it's your outlet, but you can't let this. I'm like, but this is interesting topics. Like, you didn't want me watching Housewives, so this is my new outlet. And this is actually productive. And
Well,
these
listen,
are
you telling the truth about that, because I was talking to my husband again today. I talked to, it's the only person I talked to, I think. And it is so true. If you are at home, if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're around kids every day, you will develop a baby brain and you will forget how to talk to adults. You will forget things that you know. Your knowledge will diminish. You have to go and see. You have to you have to communicate with adults in order to keep your knowledge going, to have good communication. If you just, I'm telling you, I see it crystal clear, especially on YouTube. I'm just gonna say that you have to keep your mind active. You can't just be around kids all day, and you cannot not be around adults. So actually looking at YouTube, having conversations, indulging in the conversations that we're having is actually a good thing. It's actually a good thing. So tell your husband that. Tell him to come and sit down and come and
right, chat.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, I a couple of years ago, I threatened to do this podcast, and I even felt like, even that show Black Love, I'm like, babe, we would be perfect candidates for this show. Like, oh my goodness. But he works in television, but he's behind the camera, so he kind of doesn't like being in front of the camera. And it's just one of those things. He's like, I'm a little bit more private. Okay. So I never got it going. I had another baby. Yeah. But this is very interesting to me. I love being a wife. I love being a mom. I think, to be honest, in 2021, I think people are having kids like new handbags.
Don't talk about handbags. I'm not going to let you talk about handbags. You can talk about anything else but handbags. I'm not going to do it. Hold on for one moment. The Ingram experience. Do you have anything else you want to add? Because I'm going to ask some other men to come up. I think Corey Hager has a question. Miss Boss, I have a question for you. I'm 51. My oldest kid is 28. What age of woman do you think is appropriate for me to marry? Judging from the Ingram experience, I would say 30 and up would be appropriate for you. Now, I've had some men tell me that did this. The experience was not good because the 30-year-old didn't know how to cook, wasn't too swift on cleaning, didn't know too much about the world. So, Corey,
they can be trained, though. They can be trained.
Corey, that means you would have to know how to do all that stuff. Ingram experience, what you think about that? Him marrying a younger woman as young as 30. Is that something, do you have to know a lot yourself in order to do that and be able to take that on? Or would you say 30 is too young?
I mean, at his age, 51, I mean, if he doesn't plan to have any more kids, to be honest, you want to know my honest opinion, I tell him marry zero woman. Just meet a woman and have companionship. Why marry anybody? I mean, if you're trying to have kids and build your legacy, I would tell him not to take any risk. Why would he take any risk at this age? He's already established his life as a man. And it sounds horrible to say that, but I would advise him not to get married at all, because now if he's been married before, he's now getting into almost the 80% divorce rate. So at this point, he's established himself as a man. I would tell him to stay out of the game. Just have companionship. There's plenty of women that are his age that have their own money, that may be a widow or maybe divorced. Go on vacation with her and have a good time. I wouldn't take that legal risk anymore at 51.
Well, I'm a little different from him. I agree with the companionship part, though, but I would just date to see what happens. Excuse me, because there may be a woman out there for you, and nobody really, I don't think men want to be alone in their older years. I think that companionship is very important for a lot of reasons. So for that, I would say date. I'm agreeing with the Ingram experience with that, dating. Definitely do so. Yeah, and then if you're a Christian man, I think you should date. And then if something happens, if something sparks, if you see a woman that is what you're looking for and have all those nice traits, I would definitely consider it. I wouldn't take it off. I wouldn't take marriage off the table because you're not married. So I would definitely consider it. Well, but that's just me. I don't see it as a risk, though. I don't see it as a risk.
He says that, see, there's the biblical marriage, which is when you become one flesh with a woman, you're technically married. And there's the legal marriage that's recognized by the state. I don't think the Bible cares whether or not you go to the courthouse or not. At the end of the day, but at the end of the day, I understand his perspective as a Christian man. But here's the thing about it. You've already earned your body of work as a man, your financial resources. And one of the things that a lot of men end up with is these great divorces that can financially wreck them. If, for instance, if they're married, like for instance, you're married right now, security boss, so you're in the highest percentage of success with marriage. If a guy like that who's 51 years old gets back into it and he's going into the higher percentage of divorces, you've worked all these years to establish your retirement, to establish a standard of living. The last thing you want to do is get into one of these situations, get a divorce, and you're 60 years old, you're paying alimony, you're about to retire. There's so many guys that had to go back to work because of the second and third marriages not working out. There's no point in taking the risk anymore because you're not trying to have kids. If you're trying to have kids, get married. If you're trying to establish a family, get married. But when you come in these second and third options there, it's not worth the risk anymore. Just from a financial perspective or from a statistical perspective, it's not worth taking that risk unless you like, if you bungee cord jumping off the Empire State Building. I mean, never mind. Let me not even get into that. Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm just an advocate for marriage, but I definitely agree with you about the dating. I wouldn't rush into anything. I would definitely want to make sure that she's the right woman. I wouldn't go for a young woman though. I wouldn't. I'm a woman, so it's hard for me to say, but I would find somebody a little bit more compatible with what my life looks like, Corey. That's what I would do. So that's how that goes. So listen, the Ingram experience, do you have anything else you want to add? I'm gonna see if I can have some other men up here that want to cam up before we end our day. But Bethany's gonna continue with us for a little bit and tell us more about her successful marriage.
Yes, I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna get out of here, but I hope I don't give Corey too much bad advice. My advice to him is get a vasectomy, first of all. Don't get married, and prepare yourself for retirement in the future. Look for companionship and enjoy your life. It's a lot more enjoyable. So I'm out of here, guys. Enjoy your night.
Thanks you so much. I'll see you soon. I'll be over. All right. Bye-bye. Paul Bennett says state versus biblical marriage, slippery. Interesting. Okay. I don't know what that means, but Mr. Bennett, if you would like to cam up and explain slippery to us, we would love to hear that because we are two successfully married women that don't plan on being in a slippery situation.
Not at all.
That's the best way I can put it. Best way I can put it. So, Miss Bethany, do you plan to have any more children?
We are done.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we have 2 boys and my earpiece. I wouldn't mind having a girl, but honestly, having kids is a lot. And staying home, I think I'm at my max.
Right. And you are just now at the gentle age of 30, right?
I'm 32.
32. So listen,
32.
You all are going to be empty nesters before long. Your kids are going to be grown and you're going to still have life ahead of you. How about that? That's going to be outstanding.
Good. My husband laughs because he was turning 50. The year he turned 50 is when I got pregnant. And so it's funny because one of his best friends gave him this gift and was they all turned 50 that same year. But it was like, oh, I thought buying this Porsche was going to be, a big thing turning 50, but you having a whole nother baby.
But you got to put a back seat in the Porsche. It's okay.
we had to do that once though. Like, okay. So it's more men, older men actually are marrying younger and they're having kids. At least my husband's friends have, and some family members are in their mid 50s and got like 2-year-olds.
Wow.
And we laugh. I'm like, what? Which cousin? Oh gosh. I'm like, they beating you, babe.
2 years old. So listen, Napoleon said a vasectomy is something every guy should get till they find the right woman because it's reversible. I agree with that. But men don't ever want anybody to mess with their private areas. So
my husband didn't get one. I got my tubes tied. TMI. But
somebody did something. Okay, so listen, Mr. Bennett is going to come up and explain to us what slippery is. You trying to come up? Come on. I don't know why it's not difficult, right? The link is in the chat, hopefully. If not, we're going to drop it again so you can come up and tell us about slippery. But Bethany, it's so nice meeting you.
You too.
You always have a a bubbly personality, and it's just so funny the way you all interact. It's just funny to me. So that was nice. Definitely nice.
He's not. That was my first time really calling in, and even not like he's not here for him to come busting in the door, and yeah, he's like, "What? You stay at home?"
I don't have a problem with that. It just shows that you all have a very good relationship. I just think that's cool. So, no. Mr. Bennett, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Listen, that comment got me thinking. What's slippery?
Well, it just seems like a lot of times we define things by our own meanings or definitions of things. So if
Okay.
you want to say, okay, marriage is one thing, or marriage is just a state thing, but you could just hook up with somebody and be married in that sense. I mean, how are we gonna, how are we going to define it? Marriage, to me, has always been a public declaration, okay, that you intend to live with this person before the community and before God, that that there's a certain standards that you and that person are gonna live by. So if it's just, well, I just hook up, I'm just a companion with this person, and we just kind of be exclusive, and we have sex, and we have, just this thing, but we're not gonna call it marriage though. We just gonna call it a situation or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think that, if we're gonna have, some standards, everyone's talking about, upping their standards and upping their game and whatnot, then, what's wrong with calling marriage marriage? Or if you're going to say, my thing is, if you're going to say, okay, well, don't ever get married again, just have companionship. What does that entail? So are you going to talk about, from a Christian's perspective, are you going to talk about just having sex? Are you going to be celibate for the rest of your life? Or are we going to have sexual relationships without marriage or what have you? Just going to have, so what are we saying? If that's not going to be the place where we're going to be having it, then I don't, how are we defining these relationships? Or we just don't want to put the N word on top of it. It just if we start defining marriage by how we define it, then I think it gets slippery there. That's my opinion. I just
Gotcha.
little background on me. I've been married March 29th, 2022. I'll be married 25 years. And I have 3 children, all college age. So we're very blessed, still happily married after all this time. And so I'm not trying to downplay anyone's perspective, but it's just like, when people say, oh, well, don't get married, just date. But what ultimately is that going to wind up being long term? And so that's why it gets a little slippery to me, where we kind of play fast and loose with some of the terms. So that's all I was trying to.
Okay. I understand now. I didn't understand it before, but there are some people who reference the marriage from the Old Testament where man lays with a woman, where it's considered, and they have sex, I should say. That is considered marriage. That has nothing to do with the laws of the land in which we live. Marriage itself, we started this actual show off today by giving the definition of marriage, which is a biblical term for a man and a woman to become one flesh. Right. That is how God intended it, with godly principles. So I think sometimes people before I go on, now do you know, in this decade that we're living in, marriage is, people are trying to redefine the word marriage. You already know that, because it was one man and one woman. Now they're trying to make it other things, which is typically a union. For me, a marriage is godly principle. One man, one woman coming together, one flesh.
Right.
That's what it is. I think what he was just explaining was an older man who maybe, in his opinion, didn't have anything else to prove to the world. His legacy had already been, he wasn't wanting to have any kids or anything like that. And there are people who are definitely against marriage, to feel like it's a gigantic or enormous risk to take and all that. That wouldn't be you, because you've been married 25 years. I've been 26, and Miss Bethany is happily married at 6 years. So we don't think
Congratulations.
We don't think that way. So that's just other people with their opinion on how to move in this world.
Right.
Everybody,
right.
We have to define it. You can't just be who you have to define it. It has to be some way. So that was his explanation for how he's going to conduct his life for the rest of his life if he doesn't decide to get married. I think he said he didn't want to. He has been married before. He's been single for a while, and he was just saying to another person, another man, that that's not a risk he would take because he's already established the purpose for him being the purposes that he would use or would look for to be married. He's already accomplished, so
I
he
can
would
appreciate
never,
that. I can
wouldn't.
appreciate, and I can appreciate him taking that as his perspective, like this is what's best
Right,
for him. But he was also at the same time he was giving advice to another man. So
right,
he's saying if you're 50 plus and you're not going to have any more children, then
right.
don't get married. But I've never looked at marriage having anything to do with children.
Well, some
Marriage
men
is
now,
about, again, when we talk about one man and one
yeah,
woman
become,
united for life, because
yeah,
you got married people who either can't have children, well, the
right.
woman can't have children also. That doesn't mean because she can't have children, then they're not married. So marriage to me, and something that I've always expressed in my house, my marriage comes before my children. And my wife comes before and I tell my kids, my three daughters, they know if it's between you and your mom, it's always going to be your mother. And
Right.
so don't even try to come between us like that. So and I think this is the problem that a lot of people make, that they put their children before their spouses. And I understand that they kids at certain times they have needs and they have, things that you have to do for them. But, when you start putting their needs above your spouse's needs, then I think that's when you come into problem. So I never got this in my mind that marriage was about having children.
No,
It was
you are
always
exactly
about one coming together, and then children is a benefit. It can be a serendipity of that if that happens, because you can have one children, 10 children, however, obviously in those bills they have a lot more children, but it's never about them. So it's about, who you want to grow old with, who's going to be there for you, who's going to put that insulin shot in your arm when you're 75. You're 50 now, but you're 75.
yeah,
Who's going to be there for you?
you're
So
exactly
I'm not going to advise guys, okay, well, if you're 50 plus, okay, protect the bag, whatever. Don't obviously use wisdom, use discernment, find someone who's going to be there for you. It's always going to be a risk, but life is about risk. And I think it's about, trying to, pair up with somebody who's, you can grow old and die with. And, I'm 52 and I still got, to have a life to live, Lord willing, with my wife. So I think that, I would never dissuade a 50 plus year old man not to consider that, because again, it's beyond just children. It's about, again, who you're going to grow with, who's going to be there for you, in those latter years. And I think marriage can be blessed whether it be children there or not. So I never looked at children as being defined. Okay, I want to have kids, so I need to get married. No, I think it's deeper than that.
well, his question is, have you ever been divorced?
Never.
Oh, I know you haven't, and that would
Right.
be, and you don't plan on ever being divorced, and
Right.
neither do I. I got married one time, and I plan on being the only time. So
Amen.
it's just a different mindset, but he's
It
been
is.
through something and experienced some things, so I
It
can
is. And
understand.
like I said, I would never dissuade like his
I
experience or
understand
what
what
works
you're
for
saying.
him. I would never say, oh, you're wrong for thinking that way or what have you. But when you're talking about advising others, about what they should do, or just having this general rule, 50 plus or whatever, having kids or whatever, yeah, I just thought that's something. Or when we start talking about, okay, well, companionship, however that means, I think that's it just after a while it just gets slippery after a while.
So Becky,
You know,
you had a question.
Well, I was gonna say that first of all, if you depends on, like you said, what they really want. If they don't want kids, okay, but that whole dating and taking women out and that gets expensive.
Yeah, but I don't
And
want. I suggested that because I don't think he should be alone. I think he's wanting. I think he's wanting to have a wife, and the only way you can do that is to date. And he's 51
correct.
years old, so I'm not going to suggest a younger woman, which is now is what individual. That's what they're suggesting. So I'm saying you got to date a little bit. He said he's a Christian man. That could be simply visiting other churches or doing something of that nature or
Definitely.
whatever. But I wouldn't want him to make a bad decision at 51 years old that will lead him into being, an older person, because that's not going to get him what he wants.
right.
He
No,
wants
and
companionship. He does want that.
I think men are being more honest about wanting that companionship. Even my husband did. His daughter at some point said, "Dad, I don't want you to be by yourself."
Yeah.
Now, she didn't think her dad was gonna marry me, but at the end of the day, he was like, "I didn't want to travel he could do travel by himself and keep working, but he was like, at the end of the day, he's like, I wanted kids. He did want more kids, and he wasn't always honest with his past relationships about that. But yeah, he wanted kids. He wanted a son. But I think, be honest about it, and men don't want to be out here single.
No, but listen, this is a real good question. Like, listen, we all three are married, and this is a absolute great question. Miss White has. She said, yes, she agrees. But when people have children outside of a marriage and then desire a marriage, things become disorganized because they expect the children to come first. Now, she's right about that. Women want to put their outside children, I hate to call them outside children, but hey, that's what it is. They want to bring their outside children into the marriage, and they want to put those outside children before their husbands. That is
They
exactly
wrong.
right. Now, listen, Miss White, listen to what I'm getting ready to say. That is a red flag. I would tell a husband, a man, do not marry you, because that is not the order of a marriage. And I'm so sorry. You got to wait till that child gets grown before you should look for, avail yourself to a husband. I hate to say it, but if you got to put your child, I don't care where the child came from or who's the daddy, doesn't matter. Your husband, the person that you're going to become one with, is what comes first. Mr. Bennett just said it, and that's the only way it really works. You don't want to be in a disorganized marriage because it just adds friction to the marriage. You want to be one with the man that you married, and then the children fall in place. If you can't do that, you can't make that sacrifice, you're not ready to be married. I hate to say it. You have to wait till your child gets grown. Would y'all agree?
Absolutely.
Agree.
Yeah. And
So
it's
I'm
natural. And again, I don't say cavalierly. I mean, I would think it's natural, right? To have those feelings, for your children and whatnot going into a new situation. So I understand the urge,
I do too.
but in terms of result, because certainly in these spaces, one thing I'm always hearing about is like what's the outcome, what's the result, and
But
again, I just
that's a sacrifice, though, that a woman may
yeah,
have to make, or a consequence for a woman having a child that wasn't with her husband initially.
right,
That is something that God tells us not to do. Now, I'm not saying we're perfect and we're perfect and we don't do it. We do things that are wrong. So
yes,
that is just a
absolutely,
sacrifice. Let me read this question from Snuggles. It says, to all the married people on the panel, what is the bad things people can possibly go through if marriage doesn't work for them? Well, Snuggles, let me tell you something. I don't think about my marriage not working. That's not my concentration. So that's not the vibration that I'm on. That's not the energy that I'm bringing to my marriage daily. So I don't have anything really to offer for that. I mean, I don't talk about divorce because I'm married. I don't talk about being married or a reason for not getting married being that it ended in divorce. I think that's kind of like an oxymoron, not something that's not really necessary to be said. But Mr. Bennett, do you want to comment to that? The question was, do you have if what can you say? Wait a minute, let me get the question. People on the panel, to the married people on the panel, let me see, can I find the question again? To all the married people on the panel, what is the bad things people can possibly go through if marriage doesn't work for them? We're
wow.
married. It's hard to say. It's hard to
It's hard. I mean, are you talking about what are situations that can lead to divorce? I'm still not quite understanding the question. Like, or what is the situation that would be a deal breaker for you in your marriage? Or I'm still not quite comprehending the question. I'm sorry.
They're saying, she's saying, what could there be, if we're not, so all the married people on the panel, what is the bad things people can possibly go through, which is if marriage doesn't work? Women, child support, alimony, it's a lot of bad things you can go through if marriage didn't work, but we're married, so that's not really something, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Well,
I
I can say for myself. I mean, obviously, I come from my parents basically separated when I was born. So, growing up, without a two-parent household, not having my dad, I lived with my mom in my first 13, 14 years, and I lived with my dad from the teenage years on. And so, seeing that dynamic, not having them or the situations that they're going through. So it did, and I'm the youngest of five kids, and we all have something. We all have struggles. We didn't all come up easy. So the scars of that, but I think we're old enough to understand that, obviously there were reasons that led to that the dissolution of my parents' marriage, and those are things I think, some of that stuff was even beyond their control. I mean, there was mental, things that was just, things that were just there that were just bad. So as someone who comes from what you would call a broken home, certainly it's had impact on my life.
Right.
That, certainly, I'm grateful that I've been able to overcome that and start my own legacy. Um, so I think, as so I think from a child's perspective, I think there's damn sure not having both together. But again, and my wife comes from a similar situation. So, but we've carved out our own dynasty, and we decided to create our own path. So I think that, to add to what you're saying, I think, children, how are children impacted by that?
Yeah.
Because it's not just the
Breaking up.
breakup; it's the things that are leading up to that. It's the arguments that you see. It's the fighting. It's the name calling. It's all the things that led to that. No one just wakes up and say, okay, we're not going to be married anymore. So again, kids oftentimes have to live with that and see that firsthand. So that's never easy to deal with. And we find our own ways to kind of compartmentalize it or just kind of go on with things or whatever. So I would say definitely how it impacts children. I think could certainly be a harmful thing.
That would be a big deal, the children. I got a couple of questions. Did you want to add anything else, Mr. Bennett? You have been a pleasure to be here tonight. I've
It's
never
been
met
a great pleasure. And again, I just caught you came up on my live show. I saw you. I think it was either on Lapeep show or one of the shows. I saw you, and I was very interested in the comments you were having. I just stumbled on your show tonight, and I saw some of the conversation that was going on. I put a couple comments in, and then you put the StreamYard out there, and I decided to chime in. But I really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
having me tonight. And I
Thank
look forward to, certainly catching more of your content in the future and hopefully being able to contribute in the future. But thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me on tonight. I
Please
appreciate it.
do.
Okay.
If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the Unsolicited channel and hit that notification bell so you can get the notifications of the new videos and the live. So you can definitely come up and speak. I like your perspective, and I think that you have been the first man that has been married 25 years. We've had
Appreciate
some
it.
17. So I like this. I like this because you're a good example that it can work. I don't, it's only a few of us out here. So we got to
Right.
represent and tell these people that it's a good thing. It's good over here. It's very good. It's we have to explain it some other time. We've been here
Absolutely.
3 hours tonight, so I'm a little exhausted, but
I hear
I
you.
appreciate you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Have a great night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I got a couple of more questions I'm going to answer because they're here. Miss White, listen, we're gonna be accountable whether it's a male or female. If I'm single and you have no kids, but even if the man you're dating wants to marry you and he wants to put his kids before you, that's incorrect. He's not ready to be married. You come first as his partner, the person that he's becoming one with, the person he's asked to marry. You're number one. That's the divine order. And if y'all not doing that, again, you're gonna be very disorganized, and it's probably gonna have some. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna work, but it's gonna be some growing pains. It's gonna be some upset nights. It's just not gonna feel like you're in order. You're not gonna become one with that person. He's not gonna feel like your partner. The union will be tried unnecessarily because it didn't have to be. So definitely keep that in mind. I know it is kind of hard finding someone probably in this day and time that don't have kids, but try to do so. I got one more question that I'm going to answer, and it is from Miss Snuggles. Let me see what it is. Let me go back and get that question. Security boss, do you mind giving more red flags about things that human females naturally do, if you don't mind me asking? Well, let me tell you, we can go on all night with that, but let me tell you one. And it's for men, because men are the ones who find a wife. My question, the first thing I've asked this question several times, and men just they all over it because it makes them feel like kings, but it's a red flag for me. If a woman asks you for a date and you say yes, I advise you to go on that date, but that is not someone that you should marry, because when she asked you on that date and you said yes, you are now on her program. And remember, you are the person that finds a wife. So you may find yourself on her program from that point on. So again, to me, that's a red flag. Not a bad thing if we're just dating and having fun, but she should probably not be your wife. So men, keep that in mind. when you're vetting these women. Definitely keep that in mind. All right. So listen, guys, thank you all for being here. Security Boss has been here for 3 hours. I appreciate all the engagement I've gotten. We're going to be here again on Monday night. And thumbs up for you all. Thumbs up. And make sure you subscribe to my channel. And I will see you all soon. Have a good evening.
No, I always gotta go. Playing house, this ain't a home with my soul on the road.
I can't sit still for a minute. I'm so dead set on indifference. Keep it Charlie, stay down with them Dickens. Let's get around like it's the 80s. Right round, let's keep spinning. Let's keep playing these games that we don't want to finish. And I'm sorry if that sounds a bit bitter, but I am to the core. You want the whole damn thing, then you ask him for more. You want that old jive swing, you take up all of the floor. I'm fine with standing at the edge of the door. You be the life of the party. I blend in with the core. You drink it all to Bacardi. Till the bottles no more. Let's take it back for this started. You want the love, I don't got it. Got my soul on the road. You screaming stay, baby please don't go. Don't think it's in me to listen to foe. It's so different with distance we roam into zones where nothing get hurt anymore. I just wish I was home when I stepped through front door, but instead I'm alone and completely unsure. And even though you're screaming out with the best of intentions, I don't get it. Why do you always gotta ask me to
Stay. Why you always gotta go? Playing house, this ain't a home with your soul on the road. Say, why you always gotta go? Playing house, this ain't a home with your soul on the road.
See, I've been lost in my thoughts, and my thoughts they too are scared to usher you off. Sorry, Mom, I just thought you were my world. Now you're not. And I'm just sitting, smoking, sloping in the days, because my days ain't been the same since I drove your. I remember the way you.